On our way home from school, my best friend collapsed after being approached by human traffickers asking for directions. I pretended not to see and took a detour home. In my past life, I begged strangers on my knees to save her, yet she ended up hating me forever. On my wedding day, she spread vicious rumors about me, forcing the ceremony's cancellation and driving my mother to jump to her death. As my mother's body shattered on the ground, she doubled over laughing hysterically. She died because of you. When you called people to stop the traffickers from taking me away, you ruined everything for me. Now I'll make you understand what it feels like to have everything ripped away when happiness is within reach. I fought her desperately, only to be shoved off the 24th floor. Against all odds, I survived the fall from that height. She crept into my hospital room at night and pulled my oxygen tube. She wouldn't leave until she watched me take my last breath. When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the day my best friend was kidnapped. The moment I came to, I saw Bonnie unconscious beside the traffickers, my dagger-sharp gaze locked onto her. The human traffickers' contact dragged a trash bin over. Bonnie suddenly came to and jumped into the bin. Moments later, the traffickers hauled her away inside the container. In my past life, I lived in fear of my best friend being kidnapped. I had to beg strangers on my knees before she was finally rescued. In my desperation to save her, I never realized she'd gone with those traffickers willingly. Bonnie never forgave me for it, not for the rest of her life. On my wedding day, she not only spread vicious rumors about me but drove my mother to suicide, pushed me off the 24th floor. Miraculously, I survived. She sneaked into my hospital room and pulled my oxygen tube, bragging about marrying my fiancé. How deeply he adored her, finding new ways to charm her every single day. She made sure I'd suffocate, soaking cotton balls in chilly water and stuffing them deep into my airways. Only with my dying breath did I finally understand, why was Bonnie so desperate to let those traffickers take her? This was her master plan to marry into wealth and climb the social ladder. She'd fancied herself a celestial beauty since childhood. She refused to be just another wildflower in a small town, destined for mediocrity. She always knew she'd land herself a wealthy husband. Until her father forced her to marry the village chief's son. Refusing to accept her fate, she hatched a new plan. When her father sold her to the chief's son for 10 grand, she decided to sell herself into high society instead. Bonnie contacted human traffickers herself, providing the location and demanding to be taken. But there's one condition: no taking me to the mountains. I'm destined to be a wealthy man's wife. The trafficker agreed without hesitation. Today was the day she'd arranged to meet the trafficker. In her past life, Bonnie believed I ruined her future by rescuing her from those traffickers. Take all your hatred out on me. Watching the trafficker drag Bonnie out of the trash bin, a flicker of gleam crossed my eyes as I deliberately took a detour away. In this lifetime, I'll make sure you're left with nothing but dreams. Let's see where those traffickers will take you, too. Bonnie hadn't come home all night. Her parents turned the whole village upside down searching for her. Still, they couldn't find her. Someone claimed to have spotted her in the river. Her parents waded in to search, and her mother nearly drowned. They called the police at first light. Tragically, she was stuffed into a trash bin in a camera-blind spot. She was never caught on camera after leaving school. The meeting spot was carefully chosen days in advance. A blind spot for surveillance. The police searched for a week. Still no trace of her disappearance. Her mother had a mental breakdown after she was kidnapped. Her father lost 2 fingers in a machinery accident at work. Distracted by grief, her 10-year-old sister was taken by the village chief's son Declan as a child bride. Bonnie's parents gave up searching for her and accused me at school of being a trafficker's accomplice. My classmates were gossiping about me and giving me the cold shoulder. I tried explaining to the teacher, but they suggested I drop out instead. Standing alone in the rain with no one to turn to. I can't go on like this. I need to cut all ties with Bonnie. I exposed Bonnie's previously recorded video in front of the entire school. Mom and Dad, don't look for me. I'm off to become a wealthy man's wife. Bonnie's parents apologized, saying they'd been misled and misunderstood me. They suddenly knelt before the whole school, begging for my forgiveness. After that, her parents never contacted her again. Yet they frequently came to visit me at my place. They always brought me lots of gifts with each visit. My parents didn't want me having any further ties with them, so we moved to the provincial capital. Seizing the perfect opportunity, my father started his own business. I met and fell for Beijing's elite golden boy, and we tied the knot surrounded by blessings, with full access to both my father's and husband's resources. My company went public in no time, overnight. I became the most celebrated female entrepreneur in the province. That year, I'd just turned 25. I lived in an exclusive gated community. God, I wish I knew where those traffickers took Bonnie. Just imagine her face if she knew her kidnapping made me Beijing's wealthiest mogul. The small town she desperately wanted to escape became a famous tourist destination, making every villager overnight millionaires. Her rural fiancé Declan, whom she once looked down upon, is now the general manager of that resort, the wealthy man she fantasizes about daily. None of this happened in my previous life. In that past life, Bonnie wasn't kidnapped, and my family never moved to the provincial capital. My father never started a company, and I never crossed paths with Beijing's elite heirs. I didn't become a female entrepreneur, nor did Declan, the village chief's son, leverage my name to open tourist attractions. Our lives remained perfectly ordinary. Glancing at my desk, I saw stacks of contracts awaiting signatures, with several new ventures poised to break into industry rankings. Seems Bonnie's nothing but bad luck. Our lives took off the moment we cut Bonnie out. In our past life, Bonnie secretly altered my college application to drag me to her mediocre school, costing me my film academy spot. I hired top-tier coaches and enrolled in acting classes, practicing acting, lines, and martial arts like crazy. My husband was heartbroken seeing me covered in bruises. Iris, with our current status in Beijing's entertainment circle, they wouldn't dare deny you roles even if you skipped acting training. I don't want to see you suffer. I snuggled into my husband's arms. Darling, it's not hard at all. I'm truly happy. 3. I hold shares in Declan's tourist attractions. After Bonnie's doppelganger sister passed away, Declan began searching for the real one. Missing posters of Bonnie were plastered all over tourist attractions. Determined to find her, Declan offered a hefty reward, $20,000 for any lead, verified or not. $2 million reward offered for information leading to Bonnie's whereabouts. Everyone's trying to cash in on this, and Declan's lost plenty to scammers. The whole thing eventually made headlines. But he still holds out hope that genuine leads will come through. Well, not all of them were scammers. One person claimed to have seen her being thrown into a dumpster and hauled away, but that's all we know. Declan completely dismissed this genuine lead. I obviously wouldn't say anything about it. 2 months later, Declan was even willing to give up his shares in tourist attractions just to buy information. There was still no trace of Bonnie. Declan's father stormed into the company making a scene. Son, how did that woman bewitch you like this? If you keep wasting money on fake intel like this, we'll be broke and back to slave labor. Why can't you just be content running the company properly? Just as Declan was about to withdraw the bounty offer publicly, a lame man came forward claiming to have absolutely verified leads. I recognized him instantly. The same guy who'd been dragging trash cans while meeting with human traffickers. 12 years later, the man's limp still hadn't healed. That same vicious scowl still twisted his face. His thick local accent gave him away. Mr. Declan, I know where your fiancé is. Declan had heard it too many times to react anymore. Every visitor to the office said the same thing. I think I saw your fiancé in the mountains. He paused, but that mountain's quite large. I'm not exactly sure where it is. Shall I come with you to search the mountains? So, when will the payment be made? Declan just gave a faint hum in response. The 20 million bounty can only be claimed after we find it. The man took the 20 grand Declan handed him and left without another word. Declan didn't give the lead a second thought. He's grown numb from all the bounty hunters randomly naming locations. Only I know that Cripple was telling the truth. Bonnie must be hiding in the mountains. I can't wait to see how Bonnie's doing. I hired someone to investigate in the mountains. The very next day, we got leads, watching Bonnie's video on my phone. I burst out laughing without realizing it. So this is the high society life you begged traffickers to arrange for you. In the video, Bonnie's waistline bulges so much it bursts through her clothes. Though only in her 20s, she looks like a middle-aged woman pushing 40. The next clip shows Bonnie shackled with wrist-thick iron chains around her ankles. An armless disabled man was tearing at her clothes with his teeth. Bonnie didn't resist at all. She leaned into his advances instead. Investigators told me this disabled man had bought Bonnie as his wife. The disabled man, Glenn, purchased Bonnie to bear him a son and continue his bloodline. To everyone's surprise, Bonnie's womb proved uncooperative. She just couldn't conceive. Her husband beat her black and blue every single day for it. I feigned sympathy. Poor Bonnie's had such a raw deal. Investigators added she'd been kept under lock and key since being trafficked. Before long, she developed mental health issues and attempted suicide. her life was saved, but she lost an eye. Later, her husband, seeing she couldn't bear children and was ill, made her work to earn money. At this point, he glanced at me nervously. No worries, carry on. Her husband set up a massage parlor for her in the mountains. Just one bed in the whole place. Isn't this just making her work? What's the big deal? Why can't we talk about it? It all made sense when I saw the video. Turns out she worked at the shop entertaining clients by day, then came home to care for her disabled husband and bear his child at night. How fascinating. Investigators told me her clients were all troubled mountain bachelors who couldn't find wives, either crippled, mute, or prone to violence, yet they're all willing to pay top dollar for Bonnie's services. Word spread through the mountains about her exceptional service. I bribed the investigator with a villa to keep this under wraps. 3 months later, the intel Declan received was getting closer to Bonnie. I seized the opportunity to make $20 million off him. Early in the morning, I waited anxiously in Declan's office, putting on a show of urgency. What's wrong? Trouble with the company? Declan asked. I put on a sorrowful expression and cast the video from my phone onto the big screen. I found Bonnie. Poor Bonnie's trapped deep in the mountains. I kept quiet about Bonnie running that massage parlor business from Declan. Just as expected, Declan couldn't wait another second. He dragged me straight into heading for the mountains. Before leaving, I accidentally cast the next video onto the big screen. I quickly turned it off. Don't blame Bonnie. Running that massage parlor was her last resort. Declan's face suddenly darkened with fury. He despised women who compromised their dignity for money, especially those offering illicit services in massage parlors and foot spas. I pretended to console him with a pat on the back. Bonnie's been through too much. That's why she's like this. She'll change once you bring her home. Declan remained silent. The documents in his hand were clenched so tightly they cut into his fingers. Let's go pick up Bonnie right now. I know Declan has carried profound guilt toward Bonnie in his heart. He believes Bonnie got kidnapped back then because he was always clinging to her and teasing her. That's what made her take the back alley where she was taken. The heartache of self-blame outweighs the anger. I'd mapped out the route beforehand, and the driver followed it perfectly to arrive right on schedule. By then, Bonnie would probably be seeing clients at the massage parlor. I'd prepared snacks in advance to eat in the car. My biggest worry was arriving too late and finding Bonnie's massage parlor closed. We reached Bonnie's massage place before nightfall. The driver knocked for us, but got no response. Declan and I walked straight into the massage shop. The massage parlor had just a single bed, nothing else in sight. Giggles from a man and woman tangled in the bedsheets. Bonnie, you've got magic hands. I can't wait any longer. Babe, not so fast. Sugar, you still owe me today's tip. Treat me right tonight, and I'll give you an extra 100. Make it 200. Deal. Then I'll give you one extra service tonight. Promise you'll come back often. Declan cleared his throat with a dark expression. Bonnie poked her head out from under the covers impatiently. We're fully booked today. Come earlier tomorrow. Declan turned red with rage. Bonnie, how could you stoop so low? You take dirty money like this. You'd spend a whole day with someone for just $100. Bonnie froze. The look in Bonnie's eyes showed she'd recognized her fiancé Declan. 5. The hatred in her eyes grew more intense. They kicked us straight out of the massage parlor. Her pushing hands suddenly went slack when she spotted Declan's Bentley parked outside. Tears began streaming down uncontrollably. You're my fiancé Declan. Declan pulled Bonnie into a tight embrace, holding her like the most precious treasure. Bonnie, I finally found you. You've been through so much. Bonnie's client sprang up from the bed in fury, completely exposed. Hey, you promised you'd only take me as your client today. Looking for a beating, aren't you? Bonnie flung the lingerie at the man's face and yelled. You want to whip me again? Push me any further and I'll report you for rape. Back when I was trapped in these mountains with nobody, you had your way. Now my fiancé's here in his luxury car to pick me up. Lay one finger on me and see what happens. I glanced at Declan. Hearing Bonnie say that, his eyes overflowed with guilt and tenderness. After giving me a once-over, Bonnie suddenly pulled me into a hug. Iris, I knew you'd never give up on me. That's why you're my bestie. She paused briefly before looking up. Iris, that hairpin must be real diamonds, right? Probably costs hundreds of thousands. Sob, I've never even worn a hairclip worth a few bucks. Iris smells so divine. And her clothes are exquisite. You can tell she's absolutely spoiled rotten by her husband. Wah, not like me, trafficked to the mountains with no husband to dote on me. I stared at her, utterly speechless. Barely met and already treating me like a tool. Used to scheme every way to avoid marriage. Now suddenly Declan's precious. Declan rushed Bonnie back to the city overnight. Bonnie wants to tie the knot with Declan ASAP. Declan thought it was too rushed and declined. Bonnie played the victim card with endless excuses, leaving Declan no choice but to agree to an engagement first. Keeping Bonnie in the dark about her parents' death, Declan foisted her onto me right before the engagement. When we reached the villa entrance, Bonnie stood there gaping like a fool. Once inside the villa, she wandered around like she owned the place. When she reached my bedroom door, Declan stopped her. "Bonnie, you're staying in the guest room. This is Iris's room. Don't go in." She acted like she didn't hear him and barged in anyway. The moment she opened the door, her eyes were instantly drawn to my wedding gown. Putting on this pitiful act, "Iris, can I wear this dress for our wedding photos?" She browsed through countless dresses at the bridal shop, yet the only one that caught her eye was mine. This wedding gown was specially custom-made for me by the finest designer, costing my husband over 10 million. It was our 5th wedding anniversary gift. Though I've never actually worn it myself, Declan looked visibly uncomfortable. "Bonnie, this is Iris's wedding dress." I forced composure and managed a smile. "Sure, Bonnie can wear my wedding dress. I'll help her try it on." Declan's frozen smile gradually faded. "All right, you're best friends after all, whatever you say." As Bonnie was about to speak again, I pulled her straight into the room. With a press of the remote, an entire row of wedding gowns materialized before us. "Bonnie, this traditional style gown was custom made for over 20 million. And this fully beaded white dress cost 80 million. I glanced at Bonnie and shook my head. "What a shame, with all those rolls of fat, you're stuck wearing cheap plus-size rags." She had her eyes on my crown again. I reached out and smacked the back of her hand. "Bonnie, that missing eye of yours doesn't suit a golden phoenix coronet. That diamond-encrusted crown suits you even less. Your complexion's too sallow." She turned again, swallowing hard as she eyed my glass slippers. I sighed. "Darling Bonnie, glass slippers are meant for princesses. Look at your feet, covered in chilblains, chubby and smelly to boot. The glass slipper would never survive." I gave her an extensive tour of my villa, explained each piece to her one by one, how I gradually climbed my way to becoming Beijing's wealthiest tycoon over these years. There were things she couldn't even begin to comprehend. Bonnie was fuming with rage. "Iris, you think you're so great with your money. Everything you have is only because I got kidnapped. If I hadn't waited for you after school, would I have been kidnapped? Would my life be this miserable? If I hadn't been kidnapped, you'd still be rotting in that backwater town instead of becoming Beijing's elite." I chuckled and picked up a piece of chocolate from the table. "Bonnie, care for some chocolate? This is bespoke too. Must be your first time seeing so many custom luxuries." Oh, and this tiny chocolate, 5 grand a pop. At $100 per night with men, you'd have to sleep with 50 guys just to afford one bite of that custom chocolate." Bonnie got so mad she hurled her flip-flop at me. "Oh Bonnie, you couldn't possibly afford to replace these. They're bespoke, worth 2 million a pair. If you pay debts by sleeping around, you'll wreck yourself beyond repair. You're so worthless." 6. Bonnie's face twisted with rage. Before she could speak, I reached out and patted her shoulder with a chuckle. "Now that you're out of those mountains, come work at our company. Never sell yourself short for pocket change again." I reached out and handed her the employee badge. "Take it, the pay here dwarfs what you made at that massage parlor." Bonnie's face twisted with rage. She snatched the ID badge from my hand and snapped it clean in half. "Iris, who the hell do you think you are? I don't need your damn charity. You think my fiancé can't provide for me? You bitch. You're just humiliating me because I'm down on my luck. I only opened this massage parlor in the mountains to survive. I'm the victim here." I popped the chocolate into my mouth and smirked at her. "Oh, a victim, huh? Could have fooled me. You seem to be enjoying all those dear and honey lines. You bitch, go to hell." Bonnie reached out to strangle me. I casually lifted my leg, sending her crashing into the table corner. Clutching her bleeding forehead, she let out a helpless scream. Bonnie's cries quickly drew Declan's attention. He walked toward Bonnie with a worried expression. "Bonnie, how did you get hurt?" I tore my own clothes and smeared the fake blood packet on myself. Trying to play the victim for sympathy. "I won't let you have your way." I sobbed while wiping away non-existent tears. "Declan, it's my fault for not taking good care of Bonnie." Seeing this, Bonnie immediately feigned fainting. "Declan. Iris was never genuinely kind to me. She constantly humiliated me and even tried to kill me." I deliberately revealed the bloodstains on me for Declan to see. "I didn't do it. Why are you framing me?" Declan sighed when he saw the blood on me. "We've worked together before. he knows exactly what kind of person I am. He turned his gaze toward Bonnie, took the ID badge from her hand. Bonnie, did you damage this badge on purpose? I murmured. Declan, I was going to have Bonnie join the company, but before I could finish, Bonnie protested defensively. It wasn't me, I didn't do it. Declan wasn't stupid. He saw right through it immediately. Getting into Iris Corporation isn't that easy. Why would you do this? Bonnie kept making excuses, claiming I never invited her to work there and that I sabotaged the ID badge to frame her. Declan sighed and handed me the hemostatic agent before turning his gaze toward her. Bonnie, I know you've had a terrible time being abducted for over a decade, but you shouldn't take it out on Iris. Iris is well educated and won't stoop to your level, but you need to recognize your mistake. You used to be the closest of friends, and I hope you can mend things going forward. Declan escorted her to the guest room, and as she passed by me, she provocatively stuck out her pinky finger at me. She tried to hide it, but Declan caught her red-handed. After settling Bonnie in, Declan came to see me again before leaving. He asked if Bonnie had physically harmed me. I deliberately met his gaze, then quickly looked away. No, Bonnie's just picked up too many bad habits. She'll grow out of them. 7. I stood by the study's surveillance camera, monitoring Bonnie's every move. I smirked coldly. In our past life, her manipulative tricks were far more refined. Everyone actually believed we were best friends. Never thought she'd lose her composure the moment we met in this lifetime. Probably spent too long in the mountains. People grow duller, and their tactics regress. The next day, her hostility toward me flared up even stronger. She slandered me in the live stream to chase clout, claiming my success was all thanks to her. She even accused me of using work as an excuse to monopolize her fiancé. She incited her fans to cyberbully me. She stood across from me with smug satisfaction. I wasn't around before, but from now on my fiancé won't come running whenever you and your pathetic job call. Declan will spoil me rotten. I completely ignored her and went to work. Today I'm meeting with an important client. Her smug voice rang out again. Today Declan and I are having our engagement photos taken. I've already booked your custom-designed gown. All your fans are watching. You wouldn't let them down, would you? As if I'd let her have her way. The moment I got in the car, I called Declan. Declan, I've sprained my ankle. Won't make it to the client meeting. Are you free today? After hanging up, I got out of the car and waited at the villa. True enough, Declan arrived shortly. Bonnie stomped her feet in frustration as she watched Declan pick me up for the client meeting. She hurried after him anxiously. Declan, Iris is so lucky. Not only does she have a loving husband, but you're always there supporting her at work too. Not like me. Sob. No one cares about me. I'm just destined to be left behind. Declan looked at her with a pang of sympathy. Bonnie, I know you've been through a lot, but I promise things will be better now. Please stop taking it out on Iris, okay? Both my career and you matter to me deeply. Please try to understand. I texted Bonnie while giving her a meaningful glance toward her phone. To Declan, you'll always come second to his job. Bonnie clenched her phone tightly, her face dark with anger, holding her breath. She wrapped her arms around Declan. Declan, will you finish work in time for our engagement photos? Declan let out a sigh. We'll do the engagement photos another day. There's still time before the actual engagement. Declan, but I really want to go pick out dresses today. Declan frowned and signaled the driver to pick her up. Bonnie, go ahead and choose whatever you like yourself. We can't take engagement photos today. Bonnie stormed off in a huff. That evening, Bonnie smugly sent me the photos she'd taken that day. We didn't get engagement photos today, but I altered your birthday gown for artistic portraits instead. I calmly zoomed in on the images and sent Bonnie notes about the dress alterations. TSK, my $1 million gown deserves better than this dollar store fabric you used for alterations. Then again, that cheap fabric does match your vibe perfectly. She rage spammed me with memes. It cracked me up. Bonnie, with your petty tricks, wouldn't it be better to just live peacefully? You had to provoke me. Don't you get it? To Declan, the company and me, his investor, matter more than you ever could. Bonnie refused to believe it. Before, I wasn't here, but now that I'm back. To Declan, I matter more than his work, more than anything. She started acting out in every possible way, all just to prove she was Declan's number one. Declan's indulgence and leniency made Bonnie push boundaries even further. She began frequenting bars and even staying out all night. To help Bonnie live a normal life, Declan told her to get a job. Iris has everything arranged for you. She'll take you along to meet clients. Just pay attention and learn. The moment she heard I'd be supervising her, she blew up. no matter how we tried to convince her, she refused to work. You're my fiancé. With all your money, you'd rather have me slaving away at some job than take care of me. Do you think I'm not good enough for you? Don't you love me anymore? All you care about is your work and your investors, isn't it? Sobs. Declan sighed in exasperation before patiently explaining things to her. In the end, we went with Bonnie's idea, that evening. She started showing off in front of me again. Iris, did you really think I wouldn't see through your little scheme? You just want me to slave away at work for you, don't you? Not a chance. I'll never go to work. Watching her smug expression, I couldn't help but smirk. Moron, my real goal was always to keep you unemployed. Just another bitter housewife. After all, work helps people grow and connects them with exceptional individuals. What if you actually grow successful and start your own company? Wouldn't it be easier to just stay a naive, grumbling housewife? I've seen Declan frown many times, suppressing his irritation toward Bonnie. It's all my fault Bonnie took that back alley. If I hadn't pestered her, she'd never have been snatched by those traffickers. Fine, she doesn't have to work. After everything she's been through, she deserves to live however makes her happy. But this habit of bar hopping till dawn worries me. She's heading down a dark path. We've got to do something. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Bonnie grew increasingly brazen, exploiting Declan's guilt-ridden indulgence toward her. But what if Declan discovered Bonnie had contacted human traffickers herself? Would he still feel remorse? That cripple's already returned from the mountains. It's time to play this card. 8. 3 months later, Bonnie finally welcomed her engagement party. She was overjoyed. Bonnie handled everything personally, from selecting the gown to decorating the venue. She deliberately sent me videos of the setup just to show off. I smirked coldly. Keep it up. Your knockoff wedding decor isn't half bad. Bonnie flew into a rage upon hearing it. Just as the engagement party was about to begin, she went berserk and trashed the venue. The knockoff wedding dress was hacked to pieces. She ran to Declan playing the victim, after enduring so much hardship in the past. Loving her means giving her the most extravagant wedding. She wanted the whole world to know someone cherished her deeply. Declan refused. She resorted to every manipulative trick in the book. Playing the victim card, she manipulated Declan's guilt to get what she wanted. In the end, Declan had no choice but to agree. Declan's made good money working with me all these years. He can certainly afford a lavish wedding. He just prefers to keep a low profile. After all, his fiancée had been involved in some shady business during those years she was kidnapped. Not presentable, Bonnie was grinning from ear to ear. Iris, Declan's throwing a banquet for the whole province just for me. See, he loves me more than his work, more than anything. Oh right, your wedding was so tacky. I smirked coldly. Bonnie was such a fool. She never realized I did it on purpose. Invited the whole province to the banquet, her disabled hillbilly husband included. And those regular bachelors from her massage parlor days would show up too. And that crippled guy. Bonnie was really looking forward to the wedding day. So was I. The wedding day. This time she spent $50 million to have a custom wedding gown made. The dress was delicate, but its wearer wasn't. She was so overweight that the gown strained against multiple rolls of flesh. She carried herself like the queen of the ball. She strode toward the groom with regal confidence. Iris. My husband spared no expense on this custom gown. The wedding dress was exquisite indeed. What a shame. What's forcibly claimed can never truly be yours. Under the spotlight, before all eyes, her wedding gown tore at the seams. She covered up swiftly. No one noticed. In the end, she had to change back into an ordinary dress. As the wedding commenced, Bonnie live-streamed the ceremony across multiple platforms. She wanted the whole world to know she'd married into wealth. Bonnie too deserved to be cherished like a precious gem, but public perception differed. Whispers of gossip began circulating. The bride looks like a pig. The groom must have been threatened into this. Right, who'd ever fall for such a gold digger? After exchanging rings, time for the banquet. She took my hand in front of everyone. Iris, I was immature before. I apologize. We'll still be best friends forever. I withdrew my hand and ignored her. She grinned from ear to ear. Gripped my hand tightly again. Iris, don't be mad. You never used to get angry. You always indulged me. Let's go back to how we were before. Okay, I've got a present for you. She pulled me into the broadcasting room, produced a handkerchief. Iris, how do you like this perfume? With her pathetic little trick, she actually drugged the handkerchief. I'd already switched the handkerchief. She didn't suspect a thing. Smiling, I produced a handkerchief of my own. Bonnie. Smell my handkerchief first. Tell me if you like the fragrance. She took the handkerchief from my hand. All right, Let's smell it together. Her gaze locked onto mine, gradually revealing a sinister glint in her eyes. Beijing's richest woman secretly keeps a lover behind her husband's back. Now that's trending material. You're headed for complete disgrace. Heavy breathing echoed from the broadcast booth's partition. Bonnie smirked at me triumphantly. Iris, you're not so special after all. How stupid can you be? Didn't even realize you were drugged. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Pathetic. Didn't even notice getting drugged. Bonnie steadied herself against the stool and sat down. Iris, today's your final day. Sit tight for the show. She collapsed onto the table mid-sentence. All right, I'll be waiting for your grand performance. Before leaving, I cranked the broadcast room's volume to maximum. I always knew Bonnie would come after me. But I never expected her to be this ruthless and stupid. Guess I had it coming. 9. Just as we returned to the wedding hall, the assistant came running up breathlessly. Ms. Iris, there's trouble at the entrance. Some guy claims the bride owes him 100 nights of massages. He's demanding she accompany him right now. Even produced some kind of written agreement. Bonnie's moonlighting as a masseuse servicing male clients became public knowledge after that old man made a scene. There was also a clean-cut looking man standing nearby. He was shouting from the sidelines with a little girl in tow. Bonnie, you promised to support me and our child forever. Come out and honor your word. He gestured for the child to approach Declan. The groom married your mom. Call him dad now. Declan's face darkened under the crowd's gaze. Get these troublemakers out of here. The man then produced a paternity test, waving a paternity test report while shouting hysterically in the crowd. The groom helped the bride abandon her own daughter. Rich families bullying the weak. The entire crowd was stunned. That's when I turned on the studio audio. Bonnie's breathy moans came through. Everyone suddenly fell silent. I just wanted everyone to enjoy the show. But Bonnie ended up barging into the camera frame. Bonnie's figure appeared on the wedding reception screen. The man Bonnie brought turned out to be her disabled and abusive husband from the mountains. How vicious. Ah, brother. I can't take it anymore. Bonnie closed her eyes, surrendering to the man's rough treatment. Declan kicked open the studio door in fury. Everyone rushed over to watch the drama unfold. Bonnie was locked in an embrace with the man. I threw a bucket of cold water on her. Bonnie, how could you cheat at your own wedding? You've crossed the line with this tantrum. Declan won't want you like this. Bonnie snapped out of it instantly and screamed. Ah, who are you? How dare you rape me? I'm your husband. How can it be rape when I'm sleeping with my own wife? Declan turned pale with rage. Bonnie, you told me you weren't married. Why did you lie to me? And who's this man and child you're keeping? Bonnie glared at me with venom in her eyes. It's you. You're the one who drugged me. You're the one who tried to harm me. I turned on my phone's voice recorder. I recorded Bonnie slipping a love potion into my drink with her handkerchief. The crowd began murmuring accusations at Bonnie. Declan couldn't stomach the thought of marrying someone like her. He called off the wedding. After everyone left, Bonnie clung to Declan, begging him not to cancel the ceremony. Declan shoved her away violently. How could you be so vicious, woman? Bonnie fell to her knees, clutching Declan's leg as she sobbed. It wasn't me. Iris forced me into this. Declan ordered his men to restrain Bonnie. After all the terrible things you've done, you still expect others to take the blame. How shameless can you be? Bonnie's face turned pale as she started screaming hysterically. You've got no right to tie me up like this. I'll see you for unlawful restraint. She acts like the whole world owes her something. Haven't I become this way because of all of you? Who'd choose to be a servant when they could live like royalty? How dare you look down on me? Every bit of my suffering is your fault. If you hadn't been pestering me every single day, Declan, I wouldn't have taken that back alley and gotten kidnapped. And you, Iris, just stood there watching those traffickers drag me away, playing the innocent bystander. Everything you have now is because of me. You owe me this. Declan stood there speechless. Bonnie's disabled husband grabbed her arm. Come back to the mountains with me. The massage parlor needs your earnings. Bonnie screamed. Get lost. The old man waved a 100-night contract, demanding Bonnie's companionship. Bonnie tried to tear up the contract, but the old man slapped her into submission. A delicate-looking man held Bonnie back with his daughter in tow. I don't care how many men you've been with, but you must pay child support. Otherwise, I'll sue you for rape. Can you believe Bonnie got accused of rape by a man? What a joke. The scene descended into complete chaos. A masked man with a limp appeared beside Bonnie. He handed her a card number. Bonnie, if you want me to keep your secret, wire 10 million to my account by tonight. You damn human trafficker. Why don't you just drop dead? How dare you ask for money? The crippled man grinned and slapped her across the face. You worthless bitch. you deserve to be abandoned. You chose to call me and leave your fiancé for being poor. Now you're doomed to stay a penniless wretch forever." Everyone froze in stunned silence. That penniless wretch of a fiancé turned out to be none other than Declan. Declan crushed his wineglass in fury. He shouted angrily, "Bonnie, did you go with that trafficker willingly?" 10. Bonnie burst into tears. "No, I never knew him. He's just a con artist after money." Bonnie glared at me with pure hatred. She spat in my direction. "Now I won't hold back either. Bonnie, you jinx. Do you even know why your parents skipped your wedding? Shortly after you asked the traffickers to take you away, your parents died because of you. Your little sister was scared to death at your parents' funeral. You've got no family left in this world." Bonnie clutched her head and screamed like her soul had left her body. "No, I didn't kill them, Iris. You're lying to me, you bitch. You're just jealous I'm prettier than you. Scheming against me, Declan. It was Iris who had the traffickers take me. This whole thing was her setup. She came at me like a rabid animal, biting me. I slapped her twice, sending her sprawling to the ground." Declan glared at her with a stony expression. "Since you're hellbent on running from this marriage and escaping me, then get out. Go crawl back to your pack of men." I submitted the evidence to the police. The human trafficker was taken away. The elderly man was detained on suspicion of illegal transactions. Her disabled husband was arrested for trafficking women. The delicate-looking man she'd been supporting left with their daughter, muttering, "Jinx," under his breath. Bonnie knelt before Declan, kowtowing desperately to beg her not to call off the wedding. She knocked her head bloody against the floor, yet Declan remained unmoved, blaming himself for Bonnie's abduction. He'd spent decades searching for her, vowing to marry no one else. Turns out he was the one who got dumped. Just then, a beggar came shuffling in. "Miss, if he won't have you, I will. Let's go. I can't wait any longer." Bonnie was rolling on the ground. None of us spoke a word, and just like that, the begging tramp took her away. 11. After that, Bonnie kept pestering Declan non-stop. This went on relentlessly for months. Declan was completely drained from her constant harassment. He straight up asked me to transfer him overseas to manage our foreign branch. The company keeps growing bigger. He started dating a foreign girlfriend and settled abroad. There's been no word from Bonnie for years. While on a business trip inspecting mountain tourist sites, I encountered a woman with rotting flesh all over her body. She was dressed in tattered clothes, disheveled and filthy, as if suffering from some grave illness. "Iris, why did you just stand there and watch those traffickers throw me in the trash and take me away? You've ruined my entire life. You've destroyed my whole family." It finally dawned on me that she was Bonnie. I let out a cold laugh. "You scumbag, why should I save you? So you can torture me to death again. Bonnie, your own family died because of you. Get that through your head." She pointed at me with trembling fingers, her face filled with terror. "You've been reborn too. You deliberately didn't save me. You're getting back at me." She came charging at me with murderous rage. Several men grabbed her and dragged her into the dilapidated shack. "Ms. Iris, my deepest apologies for startling you. Let me take you to the scenic spots." Even after walking far away, I could still hear Bonnie's blood-curdling screams. "You made your bed, now lie in it." And, Story 2, the end of the world has come. I was worried about my boyfriend's safety and risked my life to return home from the company. However, my boyfriend, in order to please his brother, wanted to send me away. To preserve my innocence, I jumped off the building, but I was reborn a month before the end of the world. This time, I will definitely make the scumbag pay the price he deserves. 1. It's the end of the world. "Emma, what's wrong with you accompanying Owen and the others? I'm your girlfriend. How could you have the heart to send your girlfriend into someone else's hands? They are my good brothers. Letting you accompany them is showing you respect. Don't be ungrateful." Looking at my boyfriend in front of me, I didn't hesitate to jump off the building. At the moment of falling, I heard my boyfriend muttering to himself, "Stop pretending, it won't cost much to play around." Then my mind went blank. "Emma, wake up, it's time to go to work." I was woken up by a familiar voice. I opened my eyes in a daze and looked around at the environment. There were no screens, and there was no unpleasant smell of decay in the air. After confirming that I was lying in my own bed, I couldn't help but have doubts in my heart. Didn't I jump off the building and die to preserve my innocence? Why am I in my own home? The familiar face in front of me was none other than the scumbag boyfriend who wanted to send me to his brother. Until I saw the date on my phone, I realized that I had been reborn, a month before the end of the world. Trying to suppress my excitement, I turned my gaze to my boyfriend. My boyfriend before the end of the world was gentle and elegant, and he doted on me like the male protagonist in a movie, but who would have known that all of this was a disguise because he coveted my property. When the end of the world came, he dropped his disguise, he followed his friends and feasted all day long, but only let me eat the leftovers. When there were no supplies left, they drove me out to search for supplies. It was okay if I brought something back. If I came back empty-handed, they would let me starve there. They would punch and kick me at the slightest dissatisfaction and keep torturing me. Even my boyfriend wanted to send me to his friends to be abused. I jumped off the building unwilling to be humiliated. I originally thought he would reflect on his actions, but I didn't expect that my boyfriend not only wasn't sad at all but also mocked me for pretending to be innocent, which affected the relationship between his brothers. It was only at this moment that I completely saw through this scumbag. Reborn for another life, I will definitely make him pay double for the suffering I endured in my last life. However, now is not the time. There is still a month before the end of the world. I will make good use of this month to make thorough preparations. I suppressed the anger in my heart and looked at the scumbag boyfriend. I softly told him that I didn't want to get up. I have the habit of staying in bed. If I directly get up to stockpile supplies, it will easily arouse my boyfriend's suspicion. After my boyfriend persuaded me repeatedly, I pretended to be reluctant and went out. On my way to work, I turned and went to the bank. The house my boyfriend and I are living in now was left to me by my parents. It is located in the city center, and the housing price is extremely high. The reason why my boyfriend pretended to be a warm-hearted guy was for this house. But now that the end of the world was coming, the more crowded places were, the more dangerous it was. Plus, the scumbag boyfriend was living here, so I couldn't use this place as a shelter. In order to get enough funds, I directly mortgaged the house to the bank and borrowed 3 million yuan. Then I found an intermediary and bought a single-family villa in installments. This villa is located on the outskirts of the city. The developer originally wanted to turn this place into a high-end community, but due to the decline of the real estate market in the past 2 years, the location of the community was remote, and the housing price was high. Very few houses were sold. I paid a down payment of 1 million yuan and got the key to the innermost villa in the community. I planned to transform this place into a shelter, too. This villa has 3 floors and a small yard. It is located at the innermost part of the community, and the location is extremely hidden. What's more surprising is that there is a small road next to this villa that can accommodate vehicles. The occupancy rate of the community is very low, and there are not many security guards originally. Plus, with this small road that can easily bypass the gate, as long as I am careful, no one will know what I am doing. I looked up and down at the villa and recalled the survival skills in the end of the world novels. Combined with the experience of my previous life, I started to plan how to prepare for the upcoming end of the world. The villa needs to be transformed to be more solid. I also need to stockpile a large amount of water, food, medicine, and other supplies. No one knows when the end of the world will end. Since I have been reborn, I must hold on until the end. I plan to start by transforming the villa. In the end of the world, people's hearts are unpredictable. In order to avoid unnecessary problems, I contacted a group of decoration teams from other places online and asked them to come and work at a price several times higher than the market price. To prevent others from entering the villa, I asked the workers to dig a half-meter deep pit around the villa. I tied steel bars inside and poured concrete to make the foundation. I built 2 brick walls 3 meters high with a distance of 30 centimeters between them on the foundation. After the brick walls were built, I filled the space between them with concrete and put in small sections of steel bars to increase the firmness. I also stretched a half-meter high wire mesh on top. As long as it was electrified, these wire meshes could become an electric fence at any time. Then let's see how others could get in. During this time, I also contacted another construction team to comprehensively reinforce the main body of the villa and installed all kinds of steel plates. I replaced all the doors and windows with bulletproof ones. After installing soundproof cotton, no sound inside the room could be heard outside. If it wasn't for the tight time, I would have wanted to demolish the house and build a bunker. Then, not to mention people getting in, even small caliber shells couldn't break in. But building a bunker takes a long time. I don't have enough time, so I can only try to make more preparations to make the villa safer. Transforming the exterior wall and the interior of the house is a big project. Under normal circumstances, it takes a month to complete, but after I kept adding money, the leading manager promised me that it would be completed within 15 days. This put me at ease, and I started to shift my attention to other aspects. According to the memory in my mind, the water and electricity would be cut off soon after the end of the world. By then, the refrigerator couldn't be used. And even if I stockpiled a large amount of meat and vegetables, they would rot in a short time. I am a natural food lover. Even if I haven't started stockpiling supplies yet, I need to avoid such things in advance. To ensure my electricity supply, I found workers who installed solar panels and asked them to install solar panels on the roof. I also ordered several diesel generators and stored a large amount of diesel, even if there was extreme weather and the solar panels couldn't be used. The electricity generated by the diesel engines could be used by me for a long time. As for the water problem, I had already found someone to dig a well in the yard and installed a water purifier. Now, I just need to wait for the transformation of the villa to be completed, and then I can focus all my energy on stockpiling goods. 3. The progress of the matter was much slower than I expected. Just the preliminary preparations took me 20 days. During these days, I had to supervise the work at the villa during the day and go home to deal with my boyfriend at night. Running back and forth not only exhausted my energy but also reduced my efficiency a lot. Seeing that the end of the world was coming, in order to speed up the process, I came up with an idea. I told my boyfriend that I had to go on a business trip for a while. Afraid that he would be bored at home alone, I signed him up for a luxurious 10-day domestic tour group. I also transferred 20,000 yuan to him and told him to have a good time. My boyfriend said that he couldn't live without me and didn't want me to go on a business trip, but when he heard that I was going to cancel the tour group, he immediately changed his face and took the money and packed his things and left. Looking at my boyfriend's hypocritical face, I don't know how I was blind enough to fall for such a person in my previous life. Fortunately, I was reborn, and I won't be so stupid as I was in my previous life. My boyfriend happily got on the tour group's bus with the 20,000 yuan I gave him. Before leaving, he didn't forget to post on his social media to show off, but he didn't mention anything about me at all. But I had already seen through his character and didn't care about these things. Watching the bus leave my sight, a faint smile appeared on my lips. The end of the world is coming. Let's see how long you can be happy. After my boyfriend left, I had no more concerns and began to fully implement my plan. I contacted an intermediary in the community and told him that a friend of mine wanted to rent a house in the community. With the help of money, I quickly got the key to a house on the same floor as mine. Then I took out the item list that I had planned when transforming the villa and started to purchase the supplies needed for the end of the world. I contacted some nearby suppliers and ordered a large amount of water, small hot pots, compressed biscuits, individual combat rations, chocolate bars, and other food from them and asked them to deliver the goods at the agreed time. After placing the order, I rented a van and drove the van to the nearby grain and oil market. I bought 50 bags each of 20 jean bags of rice and flour. I refused the merchant's door-to-door delivery service and transported these rice and flour back in 3 trips. As a senior meat lover, meat was naturally indispensable in my supply list. I went to the slaughterhouse and bought 200 jean each of pork, mutton, and beef. These were all freshly slaughtered, and the meat was still steaming, together with the whole chickens, ducks, and geese. They filled the 3 freezers I just bought. Then, I raided several supermarkets and pharmacies and bought a large number of daily necessities and medicines. I also placed an order online for several compound crossbows and stun batons for self-defense. 2 days passed, and the water, small hot pots, compressed biscuits, and other things I ordered from the suppliers earlier were gradually delivered to the rental house. I divided them into several batches and quietly transported them to the transformed villa. This was an extremely troublesome and laborious thing to do, but it could greatly prevent others from knowing the situation of the villa. It took me 2 days to transport these supplies. I also installed a large number of surveillance cameras outside the villa and included the whole villa in the surveillance range without any blind spots. Seeing that the end of the world was coming soon, in the remaining time, I started the final transformation of the yard. Some things were in the open and could be seen by everyone, but some things could only be known by me alone. Finally, on the day before the end of the world, I completed all the deployments. I used my phone to download a large number of TV shows, novels, and videos on how to make simple weapons. Of course, there were also a large number of online courses of various kinds. Even in the end of the world, I will keep striving. 4. On the day the end of the world came, the scumbag came back after having a great time outside for 10 days. Today was Owen's birthday, and they were going to throw a birthday party for Owen in my house. In my previous life, the end of the world came during the birthday party. My boyfriend and his friends survived in the room, and I didn't turn into a zombie immediately because I was working overtime in the company. Later, I risked my life to return home. But who knew that what awaited me was something more terrifying than death? Facing the zombies outside, these three big men not only made me eat their leftovers but also forced me, a weak woman, to go out and look for supplies. Every time I brought back fewer supplies, they would punch and kick me, and my scumbag boyfriend not only didn't feel sorry for me at all but also wanted me to accompany his brothers with my body to enhance the relationship between them. Hee, just wait, after tonight, you'll see what's in store for you. After I called my boyfriend and told him that I would stay in the company to work overtime, I turned on the surveillance camera in the room. I installed this surveillance camera when my boyfriend went on a trip, just to monitor my boyfriend's every move after the end of the world. While my boyfriend and his friends were having a wild party in my house, I picked up the ingredients for cooking hot pot, cooked the hot pot, and quietly waited for the end of the world to come. At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, many people finished their day's work and started to go home from work. The sky gradually darkened, and the streetlights came on. The red glow surrounded the gradually disappearing sun, like a blush on a child's face, adding a bit of beauty to the sunset. But at this moment, the originally dark sky lit up again. The sky was clear, and the huge sun hung high in the sky, shining on the whole earth. The streetlights that originally emitted a faint light. Under the sunlight, they were like the fluorescence in front of the bright moon. Looking at the suddenly lit up sky, soon someone noticed something was wrong. Look at the sun. There are actually two suns in the sky at the same time. Many people initially thought that someone was joking. How could there be two suns at the same time? It wasn't until many people looked up at the sky that they rubbed their eyes in disbelief. There were actually two suns hanging in the sky at the same time. Before these people could recover from their shock, the newly appeared sun turned blood red in the blink of an eye. The light it emitted shone on the pedestrians. Many people were like being irradiated by X-rays. Their whole bodies, even their bones, exuded a strange red color. This was the precursor to the end of the world. Soon, those people illuminated by the strange red light would turn into man-eating monsters, that is, the so-called zombies. They would attack the people around them like crazy and bite them, and those who were bitten would also turn into bloodthirsty meat-eating monsters in a very short time. It wouldn't be long before the whole earth would become a battlefield of blood. The occupancy rate of the villa area was very low, and it was far from the city center. After the end of the world, there were only occasional screams, and soon there was no sound. The smell of blood drifting over from the urban area gradually filled the air. However, with the experience of my previous life, I quickly got used to this smell. I turned on the computer and brought up the surveillance footage of my boyfriend's place. In the footage, my boyfriend and Owen were already scared senseless by the scene outside the window. They were slumped by the window, looking as if they had lost their souls, and there was vomit all around them. In my previous life, they were also scared out of their wits by the zombies outside. They didn't dare to go out. After finishing the food stored at home, they forced me to go out and search for supplies. However, long before my boyfriend came back from his trip, I had already taken all the edible things at home back to the villa. They would run out of food in less than 2 days. I closed the computer screen, looked at the boiling pot bottom, and put in the mutton and fatty beef that I liked. Soon, I was attracted by the aroma of the hot pot and started eating. 5. A day had passed since the end of the world broke out. There was still no movement around the villa. Looking at the silent property management group chat, there wasn't even anyone to talk to. I seriously suspected that I might be the only one still alive in this community. In the group chat of the community where my boyfriend was, messages kept popping up. There were quite a few survivors. They were describing the tragic situation they saw in the group, while being glad that they were still alive. They were looking forward to when the relevant departments would send someone for rescue. My boyfriend's call came earlier than I expected. Just after a day, he called me. I answered the phone, and my boyfriend's voice came through. Emma, where are you now? Are you safe? I'm really worried about you. Come back quickly. It's not safe to be outside alone. After hearing my boyfriend's words, I almost couldn't help laughing. It had been 24 hours since the end of the world broke out. And he finally called me. If he really cared about me, what was he doing before? In my previous life, I believed his lies. I went through great hardships to escape from the company. I thought everything would be okay after I got home, but in the end, I was treated inhumanely by my boyfriend. In this new life, there's no way I would believe his lies. I guessed that he must have something else to say. Sure enough, before I could speak, he continued, by the way, do you have any food over there? Remember to bring some back when you come. We're running out of food at home. I knew that his concern for me was fake, and what he really wanted was for me to bring him something when I went back. He really had a good imagination, but it was just the beginning. A meaningful smile appeared on my face. Honey, I'm trapped in the company. Is there no food at home? Just hold on a bit, I'll find a way to send you some food right away. After hearing my words, my boyfriend perfunctorily said a few words and immediately hung up the phone. They shouldn't have finished the food so quickly. I was a bit puzzled. In order to celebrate his good brother Owen's birthday, my boyfriend really spent a lot of money and bought a lot of things. He spent more money on Owen's birthday than on mine. I clicked on the surveillance and saw that my boyfriend was sitting on the sofa eating with Owen and the others, while stuffing food into his mouth. He was showing off to Owen and the others. What did I tell you? She's a stupid woman. I could easily coax her into spending money on me with just a few words. Now, with just one word from me, she'll come and bring us supplies. Just wait and see. After she comes, I'll make her go out and search for supplies for us every day. That way, we'll have both food and a woman to play with. Hi, really hi. A lewd smile appeared on Owen's face, looking at the people in the surveillance. A hint of coldness appeared on my face. Do you really think you can treat me the same way as in the previous life? Just wait and see. As time passed, the situation that the survivors had to face became more and more dangerous. At first, many people were waiting for the relevant departments to come for rescue, but after several days without any news, everyone realized that they could only rely on themselves in the days to come. Desperate voices began to appear in the community group chat. Some people said that they had no food at home, and some people, having a mental breakdown, committed suicide after writing a suicide note. Many survivors went out to search for supplies. Before they could even get out of the community gate, they gloriously became part of the zombie horde. My phone rang again. When I saw the familiar number, I knew it was my boyfriend calling. While answering my boyfriend's call, I turned on the surveillance, and the footage of my boyfriend's place appeared on the screen. Compared to the vitality they had a few days ago, my boyfriend and the others were lying on the sofa dejectedly. There were food packaging all over the table. Emma, when are you coming back? Where did the rice and flour at home go? Why is there nothing left? There are too many zombies outside the company. I'm still trying to find a way to get out. Didn't you not like cooking at home? I threw away all the rice and flour because I thought they were about to expire. I pretended to be wronged and explained to my boyfriend, but before I could finish speaking, my boyfriend's angry roar came from the other end of the phone. Who told you to throw them away? Now there's no food at home. Do you want to starve me to death? However, as soon as he finished speaking, it seemed that he thought of something, and his tone immediately became gentle. Emma, come here quickly. I'll starve to death if you don't come. Okay. I hung up the phone and couldn't help but curse in my heart. If you're about to starve to death, why don't you go out and search for supplies? I must have been blind in my previous life to have taken a fancy to him. 6. On the 6th day after the end of the world broke out, I made spicy shrimp in the villa. The phone rang again. It was my boyfriend calling. I deliberately turned off my phone for the past 2 days, and my boyfriend couldn't get through. After answering the call, scolding came from the other end. You bitch, what have you been doing these days? You didn't answer the phone. Why haven't you come to bring me food? Do you want to starve me to death? In the 2 days when I didn't answer the phone, my boyfriend rummaged through the house but didn't find any food. They had been hungry for 2 or 3 days and were lying on the bed without even the strength to turn over. When they saw that I answered the phone, they immediately started roaring. It was as if they had used up all their strength. Before they could finish speaking, they kept gasping for air. Seeing the situation of these 3 people, I simply stopped pretending. I sent them photos of the spicy shrimp and all the supplies in the room. My boyfriend's voice came from the other end of the phone again. You slut, did you know that the end of the world was coming and prepared supplies in advance? Yes, so what? I put the peeled shrimp into my mouth and replied to him, tell me where the supplies are quickly, or I'll kill you. Do you have the ability to do that? I sneered in my heart. Let's see who will kill who first. Through the phone, I told Owen and the others that there were some supplies I had hidden in the room. My boyfriend said that he wasn't afraid of pain since he was a child. I didn't believe it and wanted to test it. If anyone could make my boyfriend feel severe pain, I would tell them where the hidden supplies in the room were. Owen and the others had been so hungry that their eyes were shining. As soon as they heard there was food, they immediately perked up and walked up to my boyfriend. Owen, don't listen to this bitch. We're brothers. Who's your brother? Owen looked disdainful. Ignoring the terrified expression on my boyfriend's face, he slapped my boyfriend. The huge force left a deep slap mark on my boyfriend's face. and red liquid flowed out of the corner of his mouth. Looking at my boyfriend who was covering his face and moaning, his other friend named Peter was not to be outdone. Ignoring my boyfriend's pitiful pleas, he grabbed his hand and smashed an ashtray on it. With a scream, my boyfriend's body twisted in pain, convulsed, and cold sweat kept breaking out on his forehead. But it wasn't over. Seeing this, Owen was afraid that his beating was too light to get the food. He used all his strength and kicked my boyfriend in the groin. Another scream rang out, and my boyfriend fainted from the pain. Looking at the scene on the surveillance, I nodded in satisfaction. After leaving them with the words, "Continue tomorrow," I told them a place where there was a pack of instant noodles. When Owen and the others fought over a pack of instant noodles, I looked at my fainted boyfriend and sneered. "These are your good brothers. In their eyes, you're only worth a pack of instant noodles." I closed the surveillance and sat on the chair on the balcony. The night was long, and only a few stars hung lonely in the sky. A gentle breeze blew, and my hair fluttered, giving a bit of artistic conception. I watched the military industry videos on my phone and made Molotov cocktails step by step according to the steps shown, under the light. 7. Early the next morning, before 8 o'clock, the phone rang. Looking at the familiar number, I didn't bother to answer it. I got up, turned on the computer, and brought up the surveillance footage of my boyfriend's place. My boyfriend in the surveillance was listless and lifeless, lying on the ground and moaning. The big handprint on his face still hadn't faded, and his fingers that were smashed were a bloody mess. After the blood dried, his 5 fingers stuck together. Probably because I didn't answer the phone, Owen and Peter were quite angry. The moment they hung up the phone, they vented all their anger on my boyfriend. Peter kicked my boyfriend in the stomach, and my boyfriend immediately covered his stomach and let out screams. But he wasn't satisfied. He punched my boyfriend in the face, and several of my boyfriend's front teeth were knocked out. Looking at my boyfriend's pitiful appearance through the surveillance, I didn't feel any pity in my heart. My boyfriend had punched and slapped me in my previous life, and now it was his turn to feel it, probably because they were too hungry. Peter and the others quickly got tired of beating my boyfriend and sat on the bed gasping for air. I couldn't let them rest. When they were just about to sit on the bed to rest, I called them. Owen and the others answered the phone immediately. Then they started torturing my boyfriend again and asked me where the food was. I sneered and directly told them, "I have plenty of food. Do you think you deserve the food just like this?" The two in the surveillance were stunned for a moment. Then they immediately understood the meaning of my words and punched my boyfriend even harder. Each punch was more vicious than the last. They didn't stop until they were exhausted. "Too light. If it's still like this, you won't get any food." I pretended to be angry and said. Owen and the others were intimidated by my words, afraid that I wouldn't give them food anymore. A fierce look appeared in their eyes. The two found a pair of pliers from somewhere. They held my boyfriend's body and tortured him. My boyfriend fainted from the intense pain and was woken up by the pain again and again. "There's a bag of food behind the wardrobe. Go and get it." After hearing this news, the two rushed over as if they had found a treasure. They moved the wardrobe and found the food I left for them. "You bitch, it's dog food. You actually gave us dog food." The scolding of the two came from the other end of the phone. I hung up the phone as if I didn't hear it. I deliberately put the dog food there. They had beaten me a lot in my previous life and made me go out to search for supplies on an empty stomach. These beasts, weren't they just fit to eat dog food? The two called me again soon. I didn't bother to answer their phone calls and directly turned on the flight mode. Sitting in front of the computer, I watched the two on the screen and ate crayfish. Owen and the others had only eaten a pack of instant noodles these days. After being hungry for so long, they didn't care if it was dog food. They stuffed it into their mouths crazily. They almost choked several times because they ate too quickly. In fact, the dog food contained quite comprehensive nutrients. I regretted giving them the dog food. It was a waste to put anything into the mouths of these scumbags. 8. On the 8th day after the end of the world came, in the past 2 days, Owen and the others had called me countless times. After turning off the flight mode, as soon as the phone signal was restored, hundreds of missed calls popped up. Every time I didn't answer the phone, Owen and the others would vent their anger on my boyfriend and gave him a good beating. I was so annoyed that I directly blocked my boyfriend's phone number. Owen and the others in the surveillance had already finished the dog food and were so hungry that their eyes were black. As for my boyfriend, after being tortured by the two for such a long time and not eating anything, he was almost out of breath. Compared with the peaceful life in the villa area, the situation in the community was not optimistic. Many people didn't dare to go out to search for supplies, but they set their sights on the survivors in the community. Several survivors said in the group that their supplies had been stolen by others. But I knew that this was just the beginning. There was a group of criminals who escaped from prison in the community. At first, they were still a bit afraid and only dared to steal other people's supplies. Later, they became more and more lawless and directly regarded killing as a pleasure. In my previous life, I didn't know how many survivors in the community died at their hands. However, the appearance of this group of people was just what I wanted. My alternate account had long been lurking in the community owner group. When I saw that everyone was worried about the food, I casually said that I seemed to have seen the family on the 13th floor of Building 6 buy a large amount of supplies before the end of the world. Did they know that the end of the world was coming in advance? This comment stirred up a lot of discussion. As soon as my message was sent out, many people in the group said that they had also seen it, and there were several truckloads of supplies. This was why I deliberately placed the transfer station in the community. I wanted others to know that I had stockpiled a large amount of supplies. However, these people only knew that I had directed the workers to move things home truck by truck. They didn't know that I had quietly transported these supplies out. Many people in the group privately messaged me, begging me to share some supplies with them. I ignored all these messages, which made them even more convinced that I had a large amount of supplies in my hands. I just waited for them to come to my place. Just as Owen and the others had eaten and regained some strength, there was a knock on the door. Although the two of them didn't know the news in the group, they instinctively became cautious. After communicating with the people outside several times, they opened the door. The moment Owen and the others opened the door, 4 strong men rushed in. They were the group of escaped criminals in the community. After entering the room, they directly held down Owen and the others and started searching the room, but there was nothing in the room except the bloody floor and my boyfriend's body. Tell me, where is the food? The leader of the group put a machete on Owen's neck and asked. Owen trembled and told them that he had no supplies, but the leader kicked him to the ground. 9. What are you talking about? How could you have survived until now without food? The man squeezed Owen's chin hard. Seeing Owen grimacing in pain, he continued to ask, stop pretending. Many people saw that you had stocked up a large amount of supplies before. Hand them over now, and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, just wait for death. There's really no food. The reason we've survived until now is because Owen didn't dare to tell these escaped criminals the truth about eating people. Beat them until they talk. At the leader's order, several escaped criminals punched and kicked the two of them. The screams lasted for a long time before they stopped. There's really no food. We haven't eaten anything in the past 2 days. You're lying to the devil. The man sneered and smashed a bench on Owen's head. Red liquid flowed down from Owen's head. I don't know if he was beaten stupid, but Owen seemed to remember something and said to the leader of the escaped criminals, I know where there are supplies. That woman must have them in her hands. Then, he told the group of escaped criminals the whole story. It's true that the little bitch has supplies, but do you know where she lives? I know. That woman thought she was smart and sent us photos to show off. But she didn't know that the watermark on the photos had the address. I know where this place is, but I didn't dare to go there because of the zombies outside. After Owen finished speaking, he didn't forget to show the leader of the escaped criminals the photos I had sent them to show off. Okay, I'll trust you this time. If there are no supplies at the place you mentioned, you know what will happen to you. The leader of the group of escaped criminals looked at Owen fiercely and said, they cut my boyfriend's body into pieces and threw them down to attract the zombies. Before leaving, Owen looked at the surveillance I had secretly set up, his eyes full of homicidal intent, as if he was telling me, just wait, I will make sure you die a horrible death. I didn't care about this at all. There were so many zombies outside that most likely they wouldn't be able to reach this place. Even if they did, so what? I sat in front of the computer, picked up the instant coffee I had just made, and couldn't help but raise the corners of my mouth and laugh. However, I really underestimated the strength of this group of escaped criminals. In just half a day, this group of escaped criminals appeared in front of the surveillance. Only Peter was missing. Presumably, he was eaten by the zombies. However, when these people broke in, they would find that the place they came to was just an empty warehouse and there was nothing in it. The watermark that Owen saw was something I deliberately photoshopped on. The purpose was to lead them here. The roar of the car attracted a large number of zombies. After 2 of the escaped criminals died, these people finally pried open the door. Looking at the empty warehouse, the few people were completely dumbfounded. After putting in so much effort, what they found was just an empty warehouse with nothing in it. They were surrounded by hundreds of zombies outside. And there was no way they could go back. The surviving escaped criminals vented all their anger on Owen. After a round of punching and kicking, Owen soon lost his breath. Watching the last of my enemies die, I slowly let out a sigh of relief. In my previous life, they beat me at every turn and made me go out to search for supplies. Now they finally tasted the same medicine. As for the two escaped criminals, they were not good people originally. Being trapped here would make the survivors in the community a little safer. I sighed and stopped paying attention to the things outside. I opened the online courses I had downloaded earlier and started my study life. I don't know when the end of the world will end. Having more skills doesn't weigh me down. Maybe after the end of the world, I can even take the civil service exam or the postgraduate entrance exam. Sigh. I really don't want to be a hardworking wage earner anymore. 10. On the 36th day after the end of the world came, the water and electricity outside had been cut off for a long time, but because the villa had solar power after the transformation, I didn't notice it until the water and electricity had been cut off for a long time. In the vegetable garden, the small green vegetables I planted earlier had already grown 2 green leaves. I believe that in a short time, I will be able to eat fresh vegetables, after the communication was cut off. I tried to receive radio signals with a radio every day, but all that came out of it was white noise. Just as I was about to focus on my study, 3 figures appeared in the surveillance outside the villa. Why do these people look so familiar? Looking at these people through the surveillance footage, after looking them up and down for a long time, I recognized that they were the workers who helped me with the renovation earlier. Aren't they all from other provinces? Why are they here? Looking at the 3 figures in the surveillance, I was a bit puzzled. When renovating, I spent a lot of money and specifically found a renovation team from other provinces. After the project was completed, I settled the payment with them immediately and let them go back. Why are they here? It couldn't be that they knew my place was safe and came all the way here. If that was the case, the plot would be a bit too cheesy. Just as I was about to pick up a weapon and get ready to fight them, the conversation of the 3 people came from the surveillance. I said why this little girl spent so much effort transforming this house. She probably knew these monsters would appear. Fortunately, we didn't go back immediately after the work was done. Otherwise, how could we have found this place? The one who spoke first was Manager Reed, the leader of the construction team. He was a small leader of the construction team. He was fierce to his subordinates on weekdays and was a person who only cared about money. If she knew in advance, she must have stocked up a lot of things. As long as we go in, the things inside will be ours. As soon as Manager Reed's voice fell, a voice echoed. The person who spoke was Silas, a subordinate of Manager Reed. This isn't very good, is it? It's not easy for that little girl. A third voice sounded, but before his voice had just fallen, Manager Reed's scolding came from the surveillance. You, Theodore, are so nagging all day long. What's not good about it? She has so many supplies in her hands. Do I deserve to be robbed by you just because I have supplies in my hands? Looking at the few people under the surveillance, I couldn't help but clench my fists, not to mention the 3-meter-high wall, and there is an electric fence on the wall. Can you even get in? Even if you do, it's not certain who will live and who will die. I looked at the compound crossbow in my hand, picked up the Molotov cocktails I had prepared earlier, and got ready to fight these people. Maybe they also knew that it was not easy to get in with such a high wall. After looking around outside the villa, they left, but I always felt that they wouldn't give up so easily. At night, there was suddenly some movement in the surveillance outside the door. I got up to check and found that it was Theodore who was standing outside the door, waving frantically at the surveillance. After confirming that I had seen the surveillance footage, Theodore told me that Manager Reed and Silas were going to deal with me and asked me to be careful. They came to scout the place today. After going back, they discussed the countermeasure and planned to come back in 3 days. He didn't want to be involved in this matter. After revealing this news to me, he would leave here. At the same time, he also told me why they were here. It turned out that after taking on my project, they thought the labor price here was high. In order to earn more money, they didn't go back. As a result, they couldn't find any work. Until the end of the world came, they didn't have any food in their hands. When they were really hungry, they thought of this place. After listening to Theodore's description, a warm feeling welled up in my heart. In the end of the world, how many people would kill just for a bite of food? There aren't many people like him who still think of others and stick to justice. However, I couldn't let him in just because of his words. After sending him supplies for half a month with a drone, I let him leave here. 11. I don't know when the surveillance outside the villa was damaged by Manager Reed. although I had expected this situation and installed pinhole cameras in many hidden places. It was not enough to cover the entire area. 3 days passed in a flash. Manager Reed and Silas appeared in front of the surveillance, carrying ladders and bags of things. The things in the bags should be the preparations they made to get in these days, and Theodore, who came to deliver the message that day, really didn't appear in the surveillance. It seems he didn't lie to me, I muttered in my heart. Then I focused all my attention on Manager Reed and Silas. I saw them put on insulating gloves and took out a wire with an iron hook at the front from the bag. They set up the ladder against the wall. What are they going to do? Looking at their actions, I was a bit confused. The fence was 3 meters high. It was true that they could climb up with the ladder, but there was also an electrified wire mesh on it. They couldn't be so stupid as to climb over directly, could they? At this moment, a bold guess emerged in my mind. They were holding a wire with an iron hook. Could it be that they wanted to hang the iron hook up and divert the electricity from the wire mesh? If they could really divert the electricity, just the wire on the wall couldn't stop them. This was beyond my knowledge. To prevent any accidents, I immediately picked up the compound crossbow, walked to the balcony on the 3rd floor, and aimed the crossbow at the 2 people outside the wall. As long as they showed their heads a little, I would shoot the crossbow bolts. However, the people outside seemed to be waiting for something. Silas stood on the ladder and didn't take any further action. Time passed by minute. Because of the tension, beads of sweat kept falling from my forehead and hitting the ground with a patter. A bad premonition welled up in my heart. I always felt that the actions of these 2 people outside were very strange. No, the whole thing seemed very strange. I carefully recalled every detail from the time I saw these people until now. There didn't seem to be any kind-hearted people in the construction team at that time. Moreover, Theodore said that they had been hungry for a long time, but looking at the mental state of the 3 of them, they didn't look like they had been hungry at all. What about the other people in the construction team? Some things were fine if I didn't think about them, but if I thought about them carefully, I would find many unreasonable things. Theodore definitely wasn't a good person, otherwise he couldn't have survived until now. As for why Manager Reed and Silas didn't take further action, either they were trying to attract my attention, or they were waiting for a suitable opportunity. Just then, I suddenly heard some movement behind me, then a figure jumped down from the wall. At that moment, I finally understood. The reason they didn't attack was that they were waiting for this person behind to sneak in. However, these people really underestimated me. The moment the black figure jumped in, a scream rang out. I knew that the trap I set had come in handy. After preparing all the supplies, I worked alone in the villa for 5 days. I dug all the ground within 3 meters of the fence into traps. I placed half-meter-long sharp iron spikes in the traps and covered the traps with sod. The moment the black figure jumped down, Death had already prepared his scythe. I looked outside through the surveillance. The person pierced by the iron spikes was Theodore, who came to deliver the message before. It turned out that the reason he came to deliver the message was to gain my trust and make me open the door and let him in. Then he would cooperate with Manager Reed and the others from the inside and outside to take away my supplies. But I was too cautious. I only gave him food for half a month and didn't fall for it. So they played the trick of pretending to do one thing while actually doing another. They let Manager Reed and Silas attract my attention, and he took the opportunity to climb in from the back. But he didn't know that the yard was already full of traps I had set. Perhaps seeing that there was no movement from Theodore's side, Manager Reed and Silas lost their patience and took action. They hung the iron hook on the wire on the electrified wire mesh and then took out scissors and started cutting the wire mesh. Didn't I jump off the building to preserve my innocence? The crossbow bolt flew out, scraping across Silas's face. It didn't hit the vital part, but it made Silas accidentally fall off the ladder. Taking this opportunity, I quickly lit the Molotov cocktails I had prepared earlier and threw them out. The flames made Silas and Manager Reed under the ladder howl. They rolled on the ground, trying to put out the flames on their bodies. The screams and the smell of blood immediately attracted the attention of the zombies. In 2s and 3s, the zombies pounced towards this side. Before the 2 of them could react, the zombies bit them to death. After that, I used a drone to lead the zombies at the door away. I dragged Theodore's body out and threw it outside, and then started my time of studying the online courses again, later. Although some scattered survivors came here, when they saw the tall wall and the electrified wire mesh, they were deterred and left here. 12. On the 386th day after the end of the world came, a team wearing camouflage uniforms appeared outside the community. After confirming their identities, I got in touch with them. They told me that the country had developed a vaccine and it was in the experimental stage. It wouldn't be long before it could be used. The zombies were also being gradually eliminated. It was only a matter of time before normal order was restored. They asked me to be patient for a while. I shared half of the supplies in my hands with them and at the same time started study by doing practice questions with a higher intensity. The exam, here I come, story 2. After being kicked out by Ryan and his mother during a zombie outbreak, I was left to scavenge for supplies but was quickly overwhelmed by zombies. In my last moments, I heard my parents' heart-wrenching cries and realized how foolish I had been. I had been living like a nanny for a man who didn't appreciate me. Truly a mistake. Ah, Mom and Dad, stay away. Ava, are you crazy? Why are you screaming so early in the morning? Am I at home? Wasn't I eaten? How could I be here? And still with Ryan. Checking my phone, I saw the date was July 8th, 3 months before the zombie outbreak. Had I been reborn, indeed? It seemed I had returned to 3 months prior to the outbreak. Wiping the tears from my face, they were still warm. I was truly alive again. Remembering how my parents had risked their lives to save me from the zombies made me realize my past mistakes. But now, with a second chance, I was determined to protect them. I immediately called them, and my mom answered after just a few rings. My voice trembled with excitement. Hello, Mom. Is that you, Avi? Of course it's Mom. What's wrong with you? Waking up all groggy and lazy this morning, hearing her voice made me emotional. My mom was always so tender-hearted. Nothing much, Mom. I just felt like eating Dad's pork ribs for lunch. Can you ask him to cook them? What's wrong, Avi? Your voice sounds off. Have you been crying? It's nothing, Mom. I just missed you and Dad. Silly girl. What are you talking about? If you miss us, just come over. We told you not to move there. You wouldn't listen. Maybe you remembered us because you felt wronged. Come over then. I'll ask your dad to go shopping, and he'll cook your favorite dishes for lunch. Holding back my sadness, I quickly replied, Okay, Mom, I'm coming home. After hanging up, I went to the bathroom to wash my face. Looking in the mirror, living with Ryan and his mom for just 6 months had left me worn out. I decided to put on some makeup before heading home. As I was getting ready to leave, Ryan's mom stopped me. Dressed up like that, where do you think you're going? It's already 10:30, and you haven't gone shopping or started cooking. Do you want to starve us both? Can't you handle this yourself? I need to go home. You guys sort it out on your own, I said, picking up the Maserati car keys from the table, ready to leave. Why are you taking my son's car home? Can't you just take a taxi? If anything happens to that car, it's going to cost a fortune, he retorted. At that, I couldn't help but laugh in frustration. Your son's car. Seems like you forgot. This car was bought by my parents for me. My name is on the title. He just borrowed it from me for a while. How did it suddenly become his? Ryan's mother pointed at me, speechless for a long while. I didn't want to deal with it anymore, so I slammed the door behind me and left. This house was also something my mom arranged for me. I planned to hire a moving company to pack up my things and kick them out directly. They would finally taste what I went through in my past life. At 11:30, the car slowly moved out of the city center toward a villa located midway up a suburban hill, specially built by my dad for my mom. By the time I arrived, my dad had already prepared 2 dishes. As soon as my mom saw me, she grabbed my hand and asked, What happened? Did someone mistreat you? Tell me, our family has a reputation to uphold. We can't let some poor boy bully you. Seeing my mom muttering indignantly, I couldn't hold back any longer and burst into tears in her arms. When my mom saw me crying, she panicked a bit and became even angrier. My dad also came out from the kitchen, but unlike my mom, he began to scold me. Why are you crying? Now you cry when you're mistreated. When your mom and I tried to advise you before, you wouldn't listen. Are you regretting it now? What good does crying do if you don't even stand up for yourself? Dad, I'm sorry. I realized my mistake. I apologized. Hearing this, my dad was visibly shaken and his eyes welled up. If you realize your mistake, that's good. Cry a bit and let it out. We're about to eat, and you crying is ruining my cooking. If you're really that upset, I can hire some bodyguards to teach Ryan a lesson. I couldn't help but laugh through my tears, then helped my mom set the table. Soon my dad finished cooking all my favorite dishes. Braised pork ribs, sweet and sour pork, stir-fried garlic shoots with pork, sweet and sour cabbage, and my favorite, sweet rice wine soup with dumplings. Eating these dishes, I finally felt a sense of reality. It had been 3 days since I last ate before my rebirth, and I had been attacked by zombies. Everything felt like a dream. The anxiety and unease from my rebirth, fearing it was all just a dream, slowly settled down at that moment. I just kept eating, and seeing this. My parents' eyes reddened again. They didn't speak, just kept adding more food to my bowl and handed me soup when I choked. After dinner, I took it upon myself to do the dishes, but my mom stopped me. Look at your hands. How rough they've become. You used to be so well cared for, hardly needing to lift a finger. How did you end up like this in just half a year away from home? Yes, my parents were childhood sweethearts, with both families being wealthy and close friends, which led to our arranged childhood engagement. After my maternal grandfather passed away, my dad single-handedly managed all our family's businesses, growing up pampered and cherished, nurtured in an environment that made me deeply believe in the beauty of love. I had been utterly infatuated with romance. Now, as my dad finished cleaning up, I had just begun to recount my experiences of being reborn when my parents, initially skeptical, became increasingly shocked and outraged. That heartless brute, what is Ryan even worth? I have never come across such a shameless person. My father fumed after hearing how Ryan and his mother had mistreated me in my past life. They had starved me for 3 days, kicked me out of the house, and eventually, I died tragically. It took a while for me to calm my parents down. I then explained to them the timing of the zombie outbreak and the fall of the cities, as well as the challenges that would arise thereafter. We briefly discussed the preparations needed for the next 3 months and started to patch up any oversights. The immediate task was to deal with Ryan and his despicable mother, who were as annoying as flies buzzing around food, disgusting and irritating. My mom, looking quite serious, spoke up. Avi, now that you know what Ryan and his mother are really like, are you still going to protect them? Mom, Dad, don't worry. I've come to my senses and won't make the same naive mistakes as in my previous life. I certainly won't let them off easily. So what do you plan to do? I can help you teach them a lesson, my dad offered. It turned out to be a foresight that my parents had stubbornly refused to let me use the family register for a marriage certificate with Ryan, making our marriage legally non-binding. The house was a birthday gift from my mom, and I had been the one supporting Ryan and his mother all along. I even paid for the wedding, which infuriated my parents to the point that they didn't attend. Although our family is wealthy and little expenses don't matter, I couldn't let this malicious pair take advantage of me any longer. I was determined to reclaim what was mine and get back what I was owed. Dad, could you find some people to help me retrieve my jewelry and other valuables, and then evict them from my house? All right, rest for today. Tomorrow we'll deal with them, he agreed. Before I could respond, my phone rang abruptly. It was Ryan calling. As soon as I answered, Ryan's furious voice blasted through. Ava, you're getting bold, huh? How dare you show attitude to my mom? Get back here and cook, or we're getting a divorce. Fine, what did you say? Ryan was clearly taken aback by my blunt response. I said fine, we'll get a divorce, and you and your mom need to move out of my house today. Ryan was clearly panicked. No, Ava, I was just angry. Why talk about divorce? We've always been fine. If you don't want to come back and cook, that's okay. I cut him off. Ryan, you've got it all wrong. It's always been fine for you and your mom, not for me. We need a divorce. We need to separate. Ava, don't be ungrateful. A little sunlight and you're shining too brightly. Some things can't be taken back, once said. I'm giving you one more chance. Are you sure you want a divorce? I'm sure. And not just that. I want you to leave with nothing. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. I had planned to let them swagger for one more day, but since they insisted on repeatedly crossing my lines, I had no choice but to cut them off completely. Ha ha ha, just kidding. With 3 months until the apocalypse and still in a lawful society, of course, we can't resort to violence. I guess I'll make my move just before the outbreak. I was far too accommodating, even giving him a chance to struggle on for 3 more months. Dad, call some bodyguards. Let's go take back our house. All right, they've really crossed the line, treating our family like we're nobodies. We need to teach them a lesson. When my dad and I returned home with a group of people, Ryan and his mother had already finished their meal. The table was still cluttered with unwashed dishes. Every time I come back from my parents' house, it's always like this, leaving a pile of dishes waiting for me. Ryan, you little brat, get out here. The moment my dad saw the state of the house, his anger, which had just subsided, flared up again. Well, if it isn't my dear father-in-law, Why bring such a crowd? I must have been blind to have fallen for Ryan, who still hasn't grasped the seriousness of the situation. Dad, take a seat, don't get angry, I'll handle this myself. Alright. At that moment, Ryan's mother also heard the commotion and came out of the bedroom. Oh my, Ava, what's all this about, gathering a crowd like this? One might think you're here to start a fight. Oh, you guessed right. But whether I resort to physical measures depends on your attitude. Ava, what kind of way is that to talk to my mother? My attitude reflects the person I'm dealing with. Now, immediately, you and your mother need to move out of my house, or else I'll accuse you of trespassing. What do you mean, Ava? You are married to my son. Isn't this your joint property? Ha. You must have forgotten that your son and I never officially registered our marriage. I'm giving you 1 hour to pack up your belongings. If you dare take anything I paid for, I'll immediately call the police and accuse you of theft. Ava, don't go too far. Ryan started to approach me, pointing, but a bodyguard quickly pushed him to the ground. If I remember correctly, the clothes you and your mother are wearing, which I bought, are brand new Versace. Remember to leave them behind before you go. You have 58 minutes left. Oh, you heartless woman, how can you treat your mother-in-law like this? There's no justice. Seeing that being tough wasn't working, Ryan's mother simply lay on the ground, kicking and screaming. Auntie, I advise you to do as I say, or don't blame me for exposing the truth about you and your son living off others. Let's see if you and Ryan will have the face to meet people in the future. Ryan and his mother, realizing I meant business, reluctantly began to pack their things. Before they reached the bedroom, I added, don't forget to change out of the clothes I bought, or I'll have the bodyguards strip them off. Ava, you're being unreasonable. We've lived together so long. All my clothes are bought by you. What else do I have to wear? That's not my problem. Each piece of clothing I bought costs thousands. Any one of them is enough for a legal case. Think it over yourself, or you might as well buy them. You're being irrational. With nothing more to say, Ryan dropped the comment and went inside to pack. 40 minutes later, Ryan and his mother had packed their belongings, dressed in their own warm clothes from the previous year, ready to leave. Yet, I had the bodyguard stop them. Check if they've taken any valuables and keep everything you find. After all, Ryan and his mother come from a poor, remote area. They probably couldn't afford much. Upon hearing my words, Ryan and his mother were visibly upset but powerless to respond. Before they even entered the elevator, I had someone throw out their clothes, pack my personal items and send them back to my parents' villa. Take away all the furniture by tonight and change the code lock on the door as well, I instructed. Let's go home, Dad. Alright, let's go. You truly are William's daughter, reminding me of myself when I was younger, my father said, clearly satisfied with how I handled the situation. After dealing with the scoundrel, Dad and I went back to the villa to prepare dinner, as he wouldn't want his beloved wife to go hungry. That evening, after dinner, I started discussing future plans with my parents. Starting tomorrow, Dad no longer planned to go to the office but instead intended to liquidate the company's assets. Considering the impending apocalypse, shares and real estate would lose their value, so it made more sense to invest in supplies to improve our chances of survival. Back in 2087, scientists had developed spatial distortion technology that could create small, portable spaces. These devices were the size of a Rubik's Cube, weighed about as much as a smartphone, and could store items securely with a set password. Much like the magical storage bags found in cultivation novels, 12 years later. This technology had advanced significantly, even producing time-stopping capabilities in these spaces, with small ones costing just a few hundred and larger ones a few $1,000s. After 5 hours of discussion, we decided that my father would handle the asset liquidation and initial funding, as well as the purchase of supplies and spatial orbs. I was tasked with listing the necessary supplies, and my mother was to oversee and fill in any gaps. We also planned to fortify the villa. As in the post-apocalyptic world, not only zombies but other humans could be a threat. To stockpile more food discreetly, Dad rented a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Supplies ordered during the day were stored there and then stowed away in the spatial orbs at night. During the day, I monitored the warehouse workers as they loaded and unloaded goods, and secured the warehouse at the end of the day. Since it was still a lawful society, we weren't worried about disturbances. Due to my limited experience in my past life, I was unaware of when the zombie virus would end, so we aimed to stock up as much as possible. That night, my parents showed me the renovation plans for the villa. The original design included a basement and 3 floors above ground. with a courtyard and a fountain at the entrance and parking on both sides. The ground floor had a living room and an open kitchen, with a garden on the side. The second floor was where my parents and I stayed. And the top floor had a rooftop terrace. The renovation plan involved replacing all doors and windows with bulletproof ones, building a triple-layered wall around the villa every 10 meters with each layer being 2 meters thick. The outer 2 layers would have top-grade bulletproof glass that was opaque from the outside, and the innermost layer featured remotely controlled openings with solar panels around the edges to power the mechanism. Originally, the villa had solar panels installed on the rooftop because there were no connections for water or electricity, which not only preserved the aesthetics but also provided basic power. Water was sourced by directly drilling and connecting to the municipal supply. Since the source of the infection was unknown, it was prudent to also stockpile water. After delegating these tasks, I went upstairs to rest, while my father went to the warehouse to store the day's supplies using the spatial orbs. A quick scan was all it took to secure the items. Being alone isn't necessarily a bad thing. Considering the shelf life of food, we decided to buy a stasis space sphere. Now, while the restaurant is still open, my parents ordered a lot of dishes, such as my mom's favorite sweet and sour ribs, and my favorites like crispy pork, braised pork, and pig's feet, knowing that these won't be available once the zombie outbreak starts. Everything we bought can later be taken out of the stasis sphere still hot. Time flew quickly. In the remaining week, my parents and I spent our days strolling through streets and markets. Whenever we found suitable dishes and meats, we bought them all and stored them directly in the space sphere. Fearing boredom after the apocalypse, I also bought a stuffed cat to keep me company, since after all, my parents have each other, and I was just an accident. As the days zipped by, with only 4 days left until the zombie outbreak, my dad and I each drove a modified RV back to our villa. These weren't ordinary RVs. My dad had them specially fortified, greatly enhancing their defenses. These could be our getaway vehicles if the need arose post-apocalypse. 3 days before the outbreak, my dad used his connections to find the address of Ryan and his mom, paid the landlord a sum of money to evict them. I registered a new social media account to spread the word about the impending zombie apocalypse and invested $500 in promoting the message before deleting the account. I'm no saint, but I'm human after all. Some will believe, and some won't. I just hope it helped some people. 2 days before the outbreak, my dad had someone break Ryan's leg. With the apocalypse so close, we weren't worried about the police or any subsequent issues. After all, by then everyone would be too concerned with their own survival. With just 1 day left, for safety, my parents and I decided to stay indoors. Then, the outbreak began. While a cleaning lady in a mall was sanitizing the area, a man on the floor began convulsing violently, quickly attracting a crowd. People gathered around him, wondering aloud, what's wrong with him? Could it be epilepsy? Someone call emergency services. As the cleaner moved closer to check on him, she was suddenly bitten on the neck. The bystanders, initially attempting to help, were quickly overpowered by the now mutated zombie and the cleaner, who began to attack others. Realizing the severity, those filming stopped and started running. The slower ones were too late and got caught by pursuing zombies. Similar scenes unfolded across the country on July 11th at different times, browsing through videos on various platforms. Some details that were overlooked in my past life due to Ryan and his mom's manipulative behavior now seem to hint at a conspiracy. If the zombie virus had spread through person-to-person transmission, it wouldn't have swept across the nation so swiftly. The videos on social media showed that the virus outbreaks occurred intermittently at different times of the same day, as if someone had planned it. My dad came downstairs, and our eyes met, both realizing this possibility. Even though we were prepared and together, a wave of unease suddenly overwhelmed us. If it were a natural disaster, our country's solidarity could quickly control it, but if it were human-manipulated, with the enemy hidden and us exposed, our chances of overcoming this seemed slim. After lunch, we held a small family meeting. My dad handed my mom and me a necklace each. These pendants are actually disguised space spheres. They can be opened to reveal their normal size. You and your mom each take one. I've prepared enough food inside for about a year for both of you, along with 200 gold bars that I exchanged earlier, a bank card with 5 million on it, and 2 million in cash. The pin is Ava's birthday. As you can probably tell, this zombie virus outbreak might be man-made. If something unexpected happens later, and we must leave the villa and get separated, at least we will have a backup plan. I'm not sure if cash will still be useful now, but fortunately, Gold retains its value and should come in handy when the time comes. Ha, 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 Dad, don't talk like that. With all these preparations we've made, we'll surely make it through until the end of this virus. Don't talk like we are already parting ways as if it's life or death. And don't just prepare for me and Mom. What about yourself? Silly girl, I'm a man. Would it look right for me to wear a lady's necklace? William, you didn't forget to prepare for yourself, did you? Are you being silly, like you said? What will you do if we get separated? Exactly, Dad. Why didn't you prepare for yourself? Oh, you two little fools. Haven't you noticed that my ring looks different? My mom and I looked at his hand and realized that his wedding ring did look a bit different. William, is that ring also a space orb? My mom asked, slightly puzzled. Smart. I had put away the wedding rings your mom and I had because I was worried they might get scratched during this time. This one is a custom-made space orb, just disguised as a ring. William, are you itching for a scolding? Why are you panting while talking? Well, you didn't let me finish speaking, you still dare to talk back. Have I been too lenient with you lately? No, I wouldn't dare. My wife, I was wrong. I didn't want to see them being all lovey-dovey, so I just went upstairs. There's a bit of family love, but not much. I opened the social media platform to search for information related to the zombie virus. Updates were still being posted, so presumably, there hadn't been a nationwide signal disruption yet. Amid all the information, there was still no official announcement. The internet was still full of anxious people. It was already the fourth day of the zombie outbreak. I could no longer see any new posts online. It seemed that signal towers and electrical circuits in various places had been sabotaged. Even if the phone had a signal, it wouldn't be of much use now. The external signals were almost completely destroyed, and the circuits were down. Even though I refreshed the military and government official pages every day, there was no news. But I wasn't in a hurry. Having been reborn, I had made thorough preparations. If I couldn't make it until the end of this apocalypse, then there was nothing I could do. For now, I was just letting things slide. It was already the 30th day of the apocalypse, and Pumpkin, the ragdoll cat I had bought not long ago, had grown from just a few pounds to now weighing 8 pounds. Living in the suburbs, where there were few people, there were almost no zombies around the walls of the villa. Occasionally, one or two would smell human scent and start scratching the wall, tirelessly scratching for half a month until they wore out their claws. That day, I was lounging in the hammock on the balcony reading a novel when Pumpkin ran into my lap, peed, and then ran off. Annoyed, I chased after it to scold it, but by the time I got down to the living room, Pumpkin was already in my mom's arms. Come here and see if I don't smack you, she threatened playfully. Why are you even arguing with Pumpkin? It's just a little cat, don't take it so seriously. Mom, you're always siding with it. How many times has it been this month? I don't care. Pumpkin is so well behaved, I can't bear to see you hit it. Mom, who's your daughter here? What, Mom? Pumpkin is my own flesh and blood. Go change your clothes and do whatever you need to do. After my mom said this, I even saw Pumpkin provocatively flick its tail while in her arms. Fine, you little cat, playing the cute card with humans. I'm not going to stoop to fighting with a cat. Spending days in the villa, bored of dramas and tired of the takeout from the restaurant. I stumbled upon a recipe for rock sugar and pear stewed with white fungus. After exercising, I decided to give it a try. Peel and chop the pear, soak and clean the white fungus, remove the roots, add rock sugar to the water, and once boiling, add the white fungus, pear, red dates, and goji berries. Simmer on low heat for 15 minutes. It was refreshingly sweet, soothing for the lungs and reducing internal heat, perfect for alleviating the discomfort from recent late-night movie marathons. I served some to my mom, who exclaimed in amazement, praising my culinary skills as rivaling those of a 5-star chef. After tasting it, my dad said, "This isn't as good as the one I make. Don't bother next time, your mom only likes what I cook." I was utterly dismissive of my dad's behavior, even jealous of his own daughter. Clearly, he just couldn't handle it. 3 months into the zombie virus outbreak, we woke up to a heavy snowfall. I opened the door and began making a snowman in the yard. Pumpkin ran out and frolicked in the snow, then accidentally destroyed the snowman I had just built. That was the last straw. I then withheld Pumpkin's canned food for a week. No matter how much it begged or acted up, back inside, my dad had already prepared a meal, and my mom served me a bowl of hot soup to warm up. It felt wonderful. After dinner, the three of us and the cat went to the basement, turned on the heater, and watched a movie. This time, my dad was holding Pumpkin. Predictably, Pumpkin peed on him, infuriating my dad enough to give Pumpkin a good scolding. Then, my mom ended up scolding my dad and banned him from sleeping with her that night, telling him to sleep on the couch instead. Ha ha ha, half a year into the zombie outbreak. The virus was still uncontained, but at least the communication signals were restored, keeping us from being completely cut off from the world. Regrettably, I had gained 5 pounds over these 6 months, the military and government issued statements. With a quarter of the population infected, the numbers were too overwhelming. The military had assembled, establishing safe zones in major cities. They also set up apps to count survivors, recording which ones had supplies and which did not, planning to distribute resources through local personnel accordingly. Just when I thought things were starting to improve, something unexpected happened. One day, a group arrived outside dressed in police uniforms, with official badges, but their posture was sloppy, not at all like that of the regular army, yet they claimed to be sent by the local government for rescue. It was clear that their intentions were not good, and after repeatedly confirming with my parents, we were sure that we hadn't sent out any distress signals. Moreover, the local rescue team had only started their search 2 days ago, so it was impossible for them to have reached our suburb this quickly. Besides, we were halfway up the mountain, a place hardly anyone would think was inhabited. Initially, my parents and I had agreed to stay in the villa and wait. If the rescue team showed up, we would go with them. If not, we would monitor the situation online and wait for the virus situation to end. However, given the current circumstances, we had no choice but to call for help immediately. Using the contact information available online, I called the rescue team, explained our situation, and even offered to donate some supplies. They promised to send someone as soon as possible. The immediate priority was to deal with the gang outside. From the surveillance footage, we saw the group initially trying to break in through the front gate without success. Hilarious. The top-grade bulletproof door my dad spent a fortune on isn't just for show. Failing that, they started to focus on the walls. Climbing was out of the question. The tallest ladder available on the market was only 8 meters. Beyond that you would need a lift. They hammered away for quite a while but to no effect. Those were marble walls, after all, but I underestimated them. Aside from guns, they also had explosives. After 2 explosions, the wall was showing signs of collapse. Seeing this, my parents and I became anxious. At this rate, it wouldn't take an hour for all 3 perimeter walls to be blasted open. My dad then communicated with them through the surveillance system. "Excuse me, officers, why are you destroying my property?" They were taken aback by our sudden questioning. A second later, a man who appeared to be the leader responded, "We are a government rescue team, seeing your high security," and getting no response at the door. We feared for the safety of those inside and resorted to force. I almost burst out laughing. Who uses gunfire and explosives as a doorbell? If someone had opened the door at that moment, they would have been riddled with bullets. "Since you're from the rescue team, I apologize for not welcoming you sooner. Give me a moment to find the keys, and I'll come out to greet you myself." The leader thought for a moment, then nodded in agreement. All we could do then was pray that the real rescue team would arrive soon. Half an hour later, the leader was visibly impatient, asking why we hadn't opened the door yet. My dad had to send some supplies out with a drone to placate them and explained that it had been so long since we used the door, we couldn't find the keys, and asked them to wait a little longer. Another half hour passed, and after having their fill of food and drink, they grew impatient. After another 10 minutes of talking, they still didn't believe us and gave us 20 minutes to find the keys, or they would start blasting the walls again. Fortunately, I had just confirmed over the phone that the real rescue team was on their way and would arrive in half an hour. 20 minutes passed, and sure enough, they started to blast the walls again. Just as the first wall was about to collapse, my dad cajoled them, "We found the keys. Just give us a moment and we'll be ready to open the door." Meanwhile, from the rooftop telescope, I saw that the real rescue team had arrived and would reach the perimeter in less than 2 minutes. During this time, my dad sent out the first wall's key with the drone. The leader sent someone to open the gate while he chatted idly with my dad. As the gate was opened, the rescue team had already quietly subdued most of the imposters. As the guy who went to open the gate turned his head, he saw the scene unfold and pointed back, saying, "Boss Shang, look behind you." At that moment, the sub-leader saw what was happening. It was too late, as indicated by the ominous red dot on his forehead. He was already in the sniper's crosshairs. After meeting up with the official search and rescue team, we quickly packed up and stowed away one camper van, then drove the other to a safe base with my family. Along the way, My father chatted with the captain of the rescue team and discovered that the uniforms worn by a certain group were indeed genuine. Belonging to a small squad within the rescue team, however, during a mission in an old district, they encountered a small horde of zombies, surrounded and with explosives at hand. They refrained from using them to avoid harming any survivors, ultimately perishing alongside the zombies. Another member, who hadn't reached the site yet, committed suicide after being scratched and infected before the mutation took full effect. The culprits were the original survivors of the district who, seeing both the zombies and rescue team wiped out, decided to engage in vile acts. They stole the uniforms of the rescue team to deceive others and committed numerous murders, hoping to profit amidst the chaos of the virus outbreak, only to meet their downfall here. It's disheartening indeed. Those young members of the rescue team, in the prime of their lives, had volunteered to serve the country through such perilous missions, preferring to risk their own lives rather than using explosives on zombies to avoid collateral damage. The betrayal they faced, with their identities misused for deceit, would leave them cold in their graves. Avi, it must be Mom, what's wrong with you? You're such a sleepyhead this morning. Everywhere were dismembered limbs, and upon seeing this, my mother, who had stayed isolated in our villa, couldn't help but vomit into the toilet. Finally arriving at the base, which resembled the previous semi-urban area, my father, initially planning to donate 1 ton of supplies, was so moved by the strong patriotic spirit that he donated 3 tons. The mayor, touched by this gesture, allocated us one of the best small Western-style houses available. Although it wasn't as grand as our suburban villa, it was decent enough, after all. The supplies we had stockpiled originally were meant to safeguard our lives in case of an apocalypse, so we had amassed more than we could possibly use in 100 lifetimes for our family of 3 and a cat. When asked why we had prepared so thoroughly before the apocalypse, my father brushed it off with the foresight typical of a capitalist. A year after the apocalypse began, it was discovered that the virus had been released by Country M, who also sabotaged our signal stations. Jealous of our rapid technological advancement, they aimed to sow internal discord and abduct our scientific researchers during the chaos. The leak during their deployment only caused a greater disaster. They were surprised by our nation's swift and effective control of the situation and our organized rescue efforts. Due to their poor management, the virus also wreaked havoc in Country M itself, which still hadn't developed a cure. Disunity led to Country M's dissolution. 2 years after the zombie virus outbreak, our country developed a vaccine. Since the virus caused organ failure and turned people into walking corpses, the vaccine couldn't cure those already infected. 2.5 years post-outbreak, as the zombie eradication operation neared its end, our country submitted evidence of Country M's crimes to the United Nations and launched a campaign against them, embodying the adage, "Those who offend our nation, no matter how distant, must be punished." Story 2, my daughter's new best friend skipped classes, had early romances, smoked, and even had an abortion. My daughter, who had a strict upbringing, idolized her and imitated her every move. Unusually, I didn't interfere. My daughter, unaccustomed to this, asked me in surprise, "Mom, aren't you angry?" Angry? I had been angry enough in my previous life. When she and her best friend brutally killed my husband and me, I stopped getting angry. A terrifying blizzard apocalypse was approaching, and I couldn't care less about her. 01, my daughter made a new best friend. Her friend was in class F and always ranked at the bottom of the grade in exams. However, she was beautiful with fair skin. A casual dancing short video of hers could get millions of likes online. Netizens highly praised her, saying that she looked exactly like the female lead in a campus story. And indeed, she lived up to this reputation. She skipped classes, smoked, had early romances, broke up, and had an abortion. Each of these things she did caused a huge commotion. My daughter, who had been strictly disciplined since childhood, almost worshipped this maverick girl. As expected, when the results of this provincial joint exam came out, my daughter's ranking dropped by more than 100 places. At this point, the voice of my daughter's class teacher suddenly became a few decibels louder. My thoughts were abruptly pulled back, and my vision cleared, after realizing that I was in my office at the company. My eyes couldn't help but redden. In my ears, the class teacher concisely finished telling me what happened and was waiting for me to say something. In my previous life, I didn't even wait for her to finish speaking. I got so angry that I immediately asked the company for leave and rushed to the school. As a result, I missed the year-end work report and the vice president position that should have been mine. I calmed my emotions and said quietly, "Okay, teacher, I know about this, thank you." The teacher seemed to want to say more but held back and finally hung up the phone. I gathered myself, took my resignation letter, left the office, and walked through the office area to the president's office. After coming out, I simply packed a few personal items. I left the company under the astonished gazes of all the employees. I knew what they were thinking, since I was on the verge of promotion. Leaving at this time would inevitably make people think that my competitors had played tricks behind my back. But that wasn't the case. In 2 weeks, the terrifying blizzard apocalypse was going to arrive. Compared with staying alive, getting promoted or not really didn't matter. 02. After leaving the company, I called my husband. He answered almost instantly. My husband was a senior executive in a large company. He was constantly busy with meetings, socializing, and business trips every day. Like a spinning top, it was rare for him to even call me back on the same day, let alone answer the phone immediately. My husband spoke with a bit of a choke in his voice. "Honey, did your work report go well today?" I said in a deep voice. I resigned. My husband was silent for 2 seconds. So did I. With over 20 years of marital affection, even through the phone, we both sensed that something was wrong with each other. We arranged to meet at home. After talking, I confirmed that my husband had also been reborn. After discussion, we decided that I would stay in Sea City to deal with unfinished matters, while my husband would go back to our rural hometown first to reinforce the doors and windows and purchase supplies to prepare for the blizzard apocalypse. Tacitly, neither of us mentioned our daughter. It was not until my husband was pushing a heavy suitcase and leaving that I asked him to confirm his thoughts one last time. "What do you think about Giselle?" Because I have panda blood, I almost died from massive bleeding when giving birth to our daughter, and the doctor didn't recommend that I have another child, so this was our only child. My husband didn't turn around, his back facing me, and said coldly, "If possible, I'd rather not have given birth to her." My eyes couldn't help but get red again. In my previous life, after receiving the call from the class teacher, I rushed to the school in a rage to see my daughter. Seeing that my daughter was blindly protecting her best friend, June, as if possessed, I was so angry that I directly transferred her to another school. I thought that as long as they didn't contact or see each other, my daughter would gradually get back on the right track. But I didn't expect my daughter to resent me. In my previous life, when I was covered in blood and on the verge of death, my daughter looked at me with extreme hatred. June was right. "It's all your fault that I became like this, Catherine, go die." After saying that, she threw me out like trash into the outdoors where the temperature was almost minus 100 degrees, the blood in my veins solidified, and the pain of my skin becoming so cold and hard that it would shatter with the slightest movement was something I never wanted to experience again in my life. 03. After sending my husband off, I went back to the bedroom and started contacting real estate agents. This house was in the school district of Sea City No. 1 middle school, one of the best high schools in the country, and it was also in a well-known wealthy neighborhood. We had spent over 10 million yuan when we bought it. Now, in a hurry to sell it for cash, I could only sell it at a discounted price. The real estate agent was overjoyed and immediately sent me the materials to fill out. They also contacted a nearby colleague to come and take pictures of the house. In one afternoon, the agent brought 3 groups of people to view the house. All 3 groups showed an intention to buy. In the bedroom, I was studying and comparing the information of the buyers when the door was suddenly pushed open. My daughter's eyes were filled with suppressed anger. "Why didn't you cook?" Only then did I suddenly realize that it was already past 6 o'clock in the evening. And my daughter had come home from school, but I hadn't prepared dinner for her as usual. I said indifferently, "Your teacher called me this afternoon and said you didn't go to class. I thought you ate outside." My daughter nervously tightened her school bag strap. "Don't you know whether I ate or not?" Fortunately, I checked my phone in advance and saw that you unbound the family member card. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing if I couldn't pay for my meal later. June was right. A mother like you with an extremely strong desire for control can only use money despicably to manipulate me. Mentioning June, she immediately became assertive again. In the past, when I heard her say such things, my fragile mother heart would have felt as if it was being fried in oil. But now, I didn't care at all. "She's right. Then ask her to be your mother." My daughter's face turned bright red with anger. Unable to refute me, she stormed out with her school bag. Just before going out, she suddenly stopped, turned around, and glared at me with red eyes. Her eyes were filled with hatred for me, but it didn't matter. After I finished dealing with the matters at hand, I would go back to my hometown over 1,000 kilometers away to join my husband. By then, the continuous blizzard would completely paralyze the transportation. Even if my daughter guessed that we were in our hometown, it would be as difficult as ascending to heaven for her to find us. 04. After that day, my daughter didn't come home again, and I didn't call her either. Instead, good news came from my husband. The house in our hometown had been reinforced. My husband hired workers from other provinces to install a simple floor heating system in the house. The heating furnace was underground, and he also had the workers dig a large flat floor area next to it, connect water and electricity, which could be used for living and storing excess supplies. My husband also paid extra to have the designer rush out the drawings of the drainage system and power system overnight. All the necessary items had been sent over urgently, and they were just waiting for the workers to arrive to start the work. My husband's unusual behavior not only didn't arouse suspicion among the villagers, but everyone also took the initiative to help and offer suggestions. They even stocked up a lot of things for their own families. The next time I heard news about my daughter was when I had just transferred 8 million yuan from selling the house to my husband and came out of the bank. On the phone, the teacher's voice was extremely serious. Giselle was smoking in the toilet and burned another female classmate with a cigarette, but the impact is very bad, and the other students' parents have already called the police. As her guardian, you need to come and discuss the handling plan. In my previous life, before the transfer, a similar thing happened. At that time, I rushed to the police station in a panic, bowed and apologized to the bullied student and her parents. After that, I visited the little girl in the hospital every day. After she recovered, I paid all the medical expenses and gave an additional one-time compensation of 800,000 yuan to prevent this matter from being recorded in my daughter's file. It was also this incident that prompted me to transfer my daughter to another school immediately. It was not until I was on the verge of death in my previous life that I found out that the real bully was June. My daughter offered to take the blame for her because she knew that my husband and I loved her unconditionally and would definitely help her settle the matter. And when the parents of the bullied girl learned that June's father was in prison and her mother was bedridden, they also chose to keep silent. Everyone made the choice that was most beneficial to themselves. Only I was kept in the dark. Now, I just listened quietly. After the teacher finished speaking, I said, "Teacher, campus bullying is a very serious social case. Protecting one bully will only create more victims. I suggest that the parents of the other side call the police and sue according to the law. Giselle is an adult and should be fully responsible for what she has done." Hearing the teacher's surprised gasp, I slowly added, "You should do as you think is right." After hanging up the phone, the money from the funds and stock started to arrive in my account one after another. It was really a double blessing. 05. I didn't go home but drove to the mall instead. I bought all the things on my husband's list that he couldn't get there and sent them back to our hometown by express. I also bought more than a dozen sets of winter clothes and heating equipment for both my husband and myself. When I got home, it was already dark. My daughter was sitting in the pitch black living room with her school bag on her back, and sobs could be heard from time to time. I walked to the entrance and turned on the light with a snap. My daughter looked up with tear-filled eyes and cried, "Mom, I was wrong." But I became even more expressionless. Yes. This was the second step for her to manipulate me, pretending to admit her mistake. I don't understand who on earth is advocating the greatness of selfless motherly love. In my previous life, I was deeply poisoned by this kind of thought. Every time I heard my daughter admit her mistake, I couldn't help but soften my heart, forgive her, and then give her another chance to hurt me. This cycle repeated until it killed my husband and me. I ignored her and went straight to the bedroom. My daughter followed me crying, "Mom, I really know I was wrong. Please help me." I turned my head and looked at her calmly. "Then tell me, what were you wrong about?" My daughter's eyes were red. I shouldn't have bullied my classmates out of curiosity. I've already apologized to her and written a repentance letter, but her parents are being unreasonable and insist on putting the repentance letter in my file. Giselle. I suddenly interrupted her. My daughter's voice stopped abruptly, and she looked at me with tear-filled eyes full of hope. I said, "At this point, only you can save yourself. After all, you didn't really bully anyone, did you?" My daughter's face showed a clear look of shock. In just a few seconds, her expression changed dramatically. With the anger of being exposed, she shouted at me, "You knew it all along. You deliberately didn't expose me and waited for me to finish before embarrassing me. Catherine, how could I have such a vicious mother like you?" in extreme anger, she said with a sense of revenge, "Well, I might as well tell you, I'm pregnant, and I don't know who the father is. If you still want to be promoted to vice president smoothly, quickly find a way to settle this bullying matter for me, otherwise, I'll make a big fuss, and then not only will you not get promoted, but you might not even be able to keep your director position." 06, after threatening me. My daughter left directly. She left with a smug look on her face, as if she had already won. I just found it ridiculous. After giving birth to my daughter, my husband and I had an agreement not to talk about work at home, so I had never told her about my campaign for the vice president position, nor had I discussed it with my husband at home. The only way she could have known was, without a doubt, from my sister-in-law. When my parents died, I was still in college, and my younger brother was in junior high school. After using the pension left by my parents to finish college, I didn't continue my studies but entered the workplace to raise my younger brother until he grew up, got married, and had children. The wealth that my husband and I accumulated was earned through countless overtime hours, sacrificing our bodies and time. But my sister-in-law whispered in my brother's ear, saying that I had deceived my brother, that our parents couldn't have left only such a small amount of money after a lifetime of hard work. My brother even came to quarrel with me because of this. After I showed him the bill details, he blushed with shame, because just for his wedding, I had spent nearly 2 million yuan, not to mention other things. Since then, my sister-in-law had nothing more to say, but she was still jealous of me and would often try to stir up trouble between me and my daughter, presumably. The idea of threatening me with my work was also taught by my sister-in-law. In the following 2 days, I visited all the 4S stores in C City. Finally, I found a snow-covered SUV. It was in stock. I paid for it and picked it up on the same day. While signing the contract, my former assistant, Amy, called me. "Sis, Giselle just came to the company to make a scene. She said she was pregnant and you didn't care about her, and she's been ruining your reputation." This was expected. My daughter had sent me no less than 100 text messages in these 2 days, but I didn't reply to any of them. Presumably, she couldn't hold back anymore. I told Amy to call the police if necessary and not to worry about me. After buying the car, there was only one last thing left for me to do. When I got home, I rarely replied to my daughter's message. "Come back, I have something to tell you." 07. My daughter came back with June. She already knew that I had left my job, but she was still arrogant. Presumably, she thought that I was asking her to come back to show weakness. "The other family wants a 100,000 yuan compensation. There's no need to pay for additional medical expenses, just transfer the money, and this matter will be settled." June also looked at me. "Auntie, you're so rich, you wouldn't be reluctant to give 100,000 yuan to Giselle, would you?" I smiled, placed my phone with the recording software running face up on the coffee table, and then put the prepared 20,000 yuan cash on the table. The 100,000 yuan compensation should be paid by whoever did the bullying. As soon as I said this, June's face visibly stiffened. My daughter's eyes filled with anger as she stared at me hostilely. "What do you mean, literally?" I continued. "Let me explain this money to you, Giselle. You've passed your 18th birthday. In principle, your father and I no longer have the obligation to support you. But considering that you're still in high school, we've decided to extend the support period until you graduate from high school, which is only half a year at most. This 20,000 yuan is your living expenses for these 6 months. 20,000 yuan for living expenses is not a small amount." My daughter rolled her eyes at me reluctantly and got up to take the money, but I stopped her. She looked up at me furiously. "What are you up to now? If you want to take this money, you need to sign an agreement first, an agreement to sever the relationship." As I said this, I took out the agreement that I had prepared long ago. After reading the words on it, my daughter looked at me in disbelief. "Catherine, just because I didn't listen to you, you want to sever the relationship with me?" After breaking down, she shouted hysterically, "Then why did you give birth to me in the first place?" "Now, I really wanted to slap myself," I said calmly. "You can also choose not to take the money." My daughter gritted her teeth in hatred, but she had no choice. Her high spending at nightclubs and bars with June during this period had emptied all her savings over the years. I have a wide network of contacts, and the behind-the-scenes bosses of these places are all my clients. I didn't want to pay attention to my daughter, but they took the initiative to send me messages and bills to confirm. 08. after my daughter and June left. I sent the agreement and the recording to the Sea City Evening News. When the newspaper was published, I was already on the highway. When I had driven 2/3 of the way, snow began to fall from the sky, exactly the same as in my previous life. I stopped at a service area for a break and went online to check the current situation. This is the first snow of this year. Auspicious snow bodes well for a good harvest. Next year must be a good year. Doesn't anyone feel that something is wrong? The weather forecast says it will snow for the next month, and the temperature is still dropping continuously. Does the person upstairs have persecution paranoia? Just because it's snowing doesn't mean there's something wrong. What if it hails? Will that kill you? Just a casual comment out of a sense of worry, but it was severely scolded. The comments calling on everyone to stock up on supplies were immediately scolded tens of thousands of times. Netizens severely warned the person not to ruin this snow that symbolized good luck. I looked at the snow outside, which seemed to be getting heavier. I put on snow chains and then set off again. There were still more than 300 kilometers to my hometown, and it would take about 4 more hours to get there. When I got off the highway, it was already dark, the cold wind blew, and the snow on the road had frozen. The cars next to me were all skidding, but my SUV drove smoothly. However, I was in trouble. I hadn't been back to my hometown for a long time, and the place had changed a lot. The original roads had disappeared. The navigation couldn't locate my home. I called my husband, but he didn't answer. I had no choice but to turn off the engine and get out of the car. Planning to ask someone for directions, the outdoor temperature had dropped to -20 degrees Celsius. The piercing cold penetrated through my down jacket and hit me in waves. However, because of the cold weather, only vehicles were speeding by. There was not a single person in sight, not even a ghost. Suddenly, a cold wind blew, and the cold seeped into my bones. My breathing suddenly became rapid, and I felt as if I had returned to my previous life. It was also a sky full of goose feather, like snow. I was frozen into an ice sculpture, but I wasn't completely dead, until 2 heavily wrapped homeless people picked me up and took me back. They dismembered me and cooked me into soup. Just as my consciousness began to fade, my husband's delighted voice suddenly rang in my ears. "Honey, luckily I was careful and changed to another highway exit. I finally found you. Honey, honey," before I completely lost consciousness. My husband's urgent shouts were in my ears. 09. When I woke up, everything outside was dazzling white. Fortunately, the village had been organizing people to clear the snow, so the snow wasn't too thick. My husband told me that the highway exit I came back from was already out of use. He was so focused on renovating the house and stockpiling things that he forgot to tell me. It was not until yesterday when he went to the new highway exit to wait for me that he remembered. But then he forgot to bring his phone, so he didn't answer my call. Fortunately, it was just a false alarm. I walked around the house, upstairs and downstairs, and found that the house had changed a lot. The floor heating system my husband had renovated was working. It was so cold outside, but inside the house, I could only wear a short sleeve shirt. My husband was very careful. Besides food, medicine, and daily necessities, he also prepared dozens of boxes of sanitary napkins for me. I hugged my husband with tears in my eyes. For lunch, we had a steaming mutton hot pot. Before eating, I picked up a can and clinked it with my husband's. "Honey, happy rebirth to us, happy rebirth." In the next 3 days, a vast blizzard swept across the country from north to south, and the temperature suddenly dropped to -70 odd degrees Celsius. Agriculture, animal husbandry, transportation, communication, and electricity were severely damaged. The blizzard apocalypse had really arrived. 10. Early the next morning, I was woken up by the vibration of my phone. I groggily picked it up and saw that many of my former colleagues had sent me an online link and were asking me what was going on. "Catherine, you usually dote on your daughter so much. How could you abandon her after the snowstorm?" I frowned and opened the web page. The topic, hashtag a former senior executive of a famous company abandons her daughter. And the daughter pleads with her mother not to leave her. Hashtag was high on the list, even breaking into the top 10. The most popular post below was a video recorded by my daughter with tears streaming down her face, posted by a marketing account. The general idea was that after school was suspended, she went home and found that someone else was living in the house. After asking, she found out that the house had been sold, and her parents were nowhere to be found. She even showed the page where I blocked her contact information. It was a blatant and deliberate attempt to imply that I had abandoned her on my own initiative. coupled with her status as a high school senior taking the college entrance examination, it immediately caused a heated discussion online. The public opinion on the square and in the comments section was almost one-sided, accusing me as a mother of deserving to go to jail. I sneered. Contacted the editor who had published the mother-daughter relationship severance letter in the newspaper before, and got the electronic version of that issue of the newspaper from her. Then, using my own account, I wrote down the whole story in detail, including her smoking at school, having premarital sex, asking for money for an abortion, since my daughter had the audacity to accuse me online. I naturally wouldn't show her any mercy. 11. As soon as the blog post was published, it received thousands of reposts, likes, and comments in just half an hour. Because of the snowstorm, work and school were suspended, and everyone was staying at home surfing the internet. Now that there was a fresh and hot topic, they naturally rushed to the front line. The public opinion on the square was quickly reversed. Everyone began to accuse my daughter, who, as a newly adult, had stepped into all the forbidden zones that even adults dared not touch. My daughter's personal Facebook was completely flooded. Netizens left tens of thousands of comments scolding her, accusing her of not understanding the good intentions of her parents and school and being bent on depravity. Many marketing accounts deleted their posts in a hurry, leaving only a few that relied on traffic to make money. Still holding on. After all, negative publicity is also a form of traffic. My husband poured me a cup of hot tea. He also saw the online public opinion. The tall man beside me was silent. I then realized that, somehow, both he and I had a lot more wrinkles on our faces. We didn't educate Giselle well, I sneered. Maybe, or maybe not, but we've done our best. My husband nodded and came over to kiss my forehead. I'll cook for you, your favorite beef noodles. Shortly after he left, the phone on the coffee table started vibrating frantically. It was my sister-in-law calling. As soon as I answered, I heard my sister-in-law shouting, "Sister, how could you abandon your child? Do you know this is illegal? You come and pick up your daughter right now." 12. No, I replied simply, my sister-in-law, are we supposed to let Giselle freeload at our house? Who knows when this damn snow disaster will end? My sister-in-law was furious, ignoring the fact that my daughter was right next to her. She started cursing. In such extreme weather, an extra mouth in the family meant that the already scarce food would have to be divided. Only then did I understand. Is there not enough food at home? I changed the voice call to a video call, went to the basement, and turned on the light. The room was filled with food, blinding my sister-in-law. Unfortunately, the transportation across the country is paralyzed. Otherwise, I might have gone to send you so much food, but she could only look at it and not eat it. She might want to hit me, but I was over 1,000 kilometers away from her. My sister-in-law was so angry that if it weren't for the phone in between, she might have come up and torn me to pieces. Before my sister-in-law could flare up, my daughter snatched the phone. "Catherine, no wonder you wanted to sever the relationship with me. You already knew about the snow disaster. You just wanted to abandon me before it came. You fucking," before she could finish cursing. I coldly hung up the phone. 13. After that, my sister-in-law still called me often, but I never answered. Later, she stopped calling. The blizzard was getting heavier, and there had been continuous snowfall for more than half a month. Many basic facilities were destroyed by the snow. Due to the extreme low temperature and heavy snow, the government couldn't send workers to repair them. Online, there were cries of despair everywhere. Those who had praised the snow as a good omen before fell silent, only praying for supplies to arrive. The cities were the hardest hit areas. Transportation was completely paralyzed, and in some areas, the snow had piled up higher than the first floor. Many residents could only go from door to door asking for shelter, at a low temperature of -40 degrees Celsius. Staying in the corridor overnight would surely mean death the next day, but every household kept their doors tightly closed. With their own food in short supply, taking in someone else was a risk. Who knew if the person entering was a human or a ghost? Most of the residents near my hometown were middle-aged and elderly people who had been doing farm work all their lives and moved here from the mountains after demolition. It was uncertain whether they could survive such weather. After discussing with my husband, we decided to use a drone to distribute some of our supplies to them, unexpectedly. Every time the drone came back, it would have other things hanging on it: instant noodles, ham, drinking water, sweet potatoes, Chinese cabbages, and notes with "thank you" written crookedly by children. My husband initially disagreed with me doing this, fearing that we would become the target of public criticism again, but after several times, he changed his mind, even in such extreme weather. Not everyone would show the evil side of human nature. Admittedly, we didn't educate our daughter well. But she was a human being, not an object. She had hands, feet, and a mind of her own. Many things were her own choices. Some people are just not worthy of being loved from birth. 14. Half a month later, in the midst of the uneventful days, I suddenly saw a surveillance app on my phone. Only then did I remember. When my younger brother got married, I bought the house. I installed a surveillance camera at the entrance of the house at that time, but after installing it, I forgot about it and never told my younger brother, and when I tested the surveillance camera, I connected it to my phone. I tried to open it. The signal was transmitted instantly. I was shocked by the bloody scene inside. In the slightly black and white surveillance video, there was blood everywhere. My younger brother's family of 4 was lying in the living room, motionless. There were only 2 people moving in the picture. The one with long hair was my daughter. The one leaning against the wall, smoking and giving her instructions. Even though I couldn't see her face clearly, I recognized her. It was June. My daughter somehow brought June here and killed my younger brother's family. Their voices came through the phone faintly. What should we do with the corpses? What else can we do? Of course, put them in the fridge. Or are you going to go outside and eat snow when there are no supplies, right? My daughter picked up a knife and neatly dismembered the corpses, stuffing them all into the fridge's freezer. Although I had experienced a cannibalistic apocalypse in my previous life, seeing her kill people and hoard them as food now made my stomach feel sick. While my daughter was putting the bodies in the fridge, June checked every room. Finally, she found this camera. With a sizzle sound, the picture disappeared. But I was still in a state of shock. I had feelings for my younger brother. But over the years, influenced by my sister-in-law's whispers, he had drifted further and further away from me. My sister-in-law had always been in touch with my daughter, using her to cause me trouble, creating a rift between me and my daughter, trying to force me to transfer some of my interests to my younger brother. But she never expected to end up getting her whole family killed. Was this karma? 15. After that, I had no news of my daughter. The blizzard raged for nearly half a year and then gradually stopped. The national government took this opportunity to start a large-scale repair of infrastructure to ensure that production could gradually resume. My husband and I joined the rescue team and drove a snow-plowing vehicle out every day to help the nearby residents clear the snow. Finally, the sky cleared. During the blizzard apocalypse, the evil side of human nature was fully revealed. There were many cases of abandonment, murder, burglary, and other criminal cases across the country, but in our village, there were none. Our village was set up as a model and commended. Just as everything was gradually getting better, the police showed up at our door with a girl, Ms. Catherine, right? The police showed me their police ID and pushed the girl beside them forward. We received a report. This girl said she is your daughter, but you abandoned her in the city half a year ago, now that the weather has improved. She somehow came here alone, wanting to find her parents. I turned my gaze to the girl. She had similar eyebrows and eyes. After half a year of a disastrous life, she probably hadn't eaten well. The originally fair and tender girl had lost a lot of weight, and her skin had changed from a healthy pink, white to an unhealthy zombie white. My husband frowned beside me. We didn't abandon her. We severed the relationship with her. I reached out to stop my husband from continuing. Then I turned to the police and said, "Thank you for sending her all the way here, officer." Only then did the police smile and gently pat my husband on the shoulder. "Your wife is right. How could there be hatred between parents and children? Have a good talk. It's all a misunderstanding." I watched the police leave and looked at the daughter who had been tamed by the natural disaster at the door. "Come in." She then took steps and followed me, silent. But I could clearly see that her eyes were full of calculation. 16. I first asked my daughter to take a bath. She glanced at me, silently took the clothes, and went to the bathroom. As soon as she left, I immediately changed my expression and looked at my husband. "Honey, have you noticed anything different?" My husband, who was about to question me, was stunned by this question. "What's different, Giselle?" I had raised my daughter since she was a child, taking care of everything myself. I was familiar with her little habits and gestures. When she was nervous, she would unconsciously grab something. But just now, when I accidentally touched the daughter, she nervously dodged but didn't have the habitual movement. For example, she had been afraid of the police since she was a child. When facing the police, she would always stand with half of her body sideways, but this time, she didn't. I always felt that something was strange. That's why I agreed to bring her back. If I wanted to know the truth, I naturally had to take the risk. My husband said that for now, we could only take things as they came and act according to the situation. I went into the kitchen and started preparing lunch. When I was halfway through cooking, I heard someone calling me at the door. Mom, I turned around. It was my daughter, who had taken a bath. Now, there were only my husband's and my clothes in the old house. Fortunately, my daughter and I were about the same size, but she was really too thin, and the clothes hung loosely on her. She had put away all her thorns and became submissive. Mom, let me help you. Okay. I thought about it and finally agreed. She was very careful in her actions, helping me serve the soup and dishes. When it was time for dinner, she stood aside timidly. My husband didn't show her a good face and sat down on his own. It was not until I asked her to sit down and eat with us that she moved, but her eyes were always fixed on me, watching me pick up the soup bowl and take a sip. The corners of her pursed mouth slightly lifted. Halfway through the meal, my husband and I successively felt our limbs go weak and fell to the ground. Ha 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 ha. My daughter stood up and let out a wild laugh. I knew it. If the daughter is so stupid, the parents can't be any smarter. She laughed wildly, picked up the makeup remover, and wiped off all the cosmetics on her face. Only then did I see clearly. She wasn't Giselle. She was June, 17. It's you. June stepped on my stomach and nipped my neck, suppressing my cry of pain. Of course it's me. Your stupid daughter became my food a long time ago and was flushed away by me. You only knew that I was a bad student, but you didn't know that I'm excellent at makeup imitation. I can become whoever I want. June's expression was ferocious, and she even laughed until tears came out. June, why are you doing this? The air in my nasal cavity was getting thinner and thinner. Why? June slapped me across the face. My forehead hit the wall, and my ears were buzzing. Her words were like needles, stabbing into my eardrums. Catherine, do you remember Gregory? He's my dad. If it weren't for you pushing my dad out as a scapegoat in the engineering project, saying that he took kickbacks and caused my dad wouldn't have gone to prison. My mom has been bedridden for a long time, and my brother has developed all kinds of bad habits. I even had to sell my body to pay my tuition. All of this is because of you. As she spoke wildly, she threw me on the ground like garbage. The air rushed back, and I gasped for breath. It took me a long time to remember. 3 years ago, a project I was in charge of had quality problems after completion. After investigation, it was found that a man named Gregory had taken kickbacks for the project and used standard materials, resulting in to restore the company's reputation. I immediately fired Gregory and had the legal department sue him on behalf of the company. Now it turned out that I was the one who pushed Gregory out to take the blame. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And what was even more ridiculous was me, having been reborn. I even forgot to check June's background. Just then, June suddenly vomited a large mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with a thud. She looked like a madwoman. No, it shouldn't be like this. The poison I clearly put in our bowls. I changed my expression. Under June's shocked and surprised gaze, I slowly stood up from the ground. My husband, who was lying beside me, also stood up. Since June was eating with us, she naturally wouldn't put the poison in the dishes. She could only put it in our respective soup bowls. I was just pretending to drink the soup, not even touching my lips. My husband even swapped her soup bowl when she wasn't paying attention. The poison June used was highly toxic. In less than 2 minutes, she completely stopped breathing. I looked at her with disgust. Killing so many people. It's too easy for you to die from poisoning like this. 18. June was indeed smart. The day after her death, someone claiming to be her classmate reported to the police that she was missing and couldn't be reached. Shortly after, I also reported to the police. After investigation, the police found that the poison in the soup bowl was prepared by June herself and hidden in her fingernails. However, since the perpetrator had brought about her own death by doing evil, no prosecution was carried out. It had been a month since the extremely cold apocalypse. The belated sun hung in the sky all day, bringing warmth to the earth. The plants that had been huddled under the soil began to sprout green buds, coming back to life. While the country was gradually and steadily resuming production, it also launched a corresponding, hard campaign against gang related and evil forces, specifically targeting the malignant incidents that occurred during the cold wave and snow disaster. The incident of June and my daughter entering my brother's house and brutally killing his family of 4 was also exposed. Some informed people even revealed that June had even disguised herself as my daughter and used the police to find our home to carry out a home invasion murder. This case was strongly condemned by the country as a classic example. My husband and I joined the ranks of restoring production and life. The life of earning $1,000,000 annual salary had become a thing of the past. Our former companies had both extended olive branches to us, but we refused. In this village, we saw scenery that we couldn't